Chapter 475. Fortunately, this battle took place at the boundary between the heavens and the earth. Otherwise, it would cause unimaginable damage to the Eldritch world. The demon race has sent reinforcements so quickly? Or did they send out their entire army? In the human race, Feng Zichen suddenly raised his head and said in surprise. Although Feng Zichen knew that Emperor Jun would take revenge on him, he did not expect that the demon tribe would act so quickly and almost turn out in full force. Was it necessary to deal with a mere human? It seems that Di Jun is quite angry. Looking at the demon race army in the sky, Feng Zichen was not worried. Instead, he was happy. The last thing he was afraid of was the demon race's entire army. If the demon race came in batches to destroy the human race, it would be troublesome. Make a scene, make a scene. The bigger the scene, the better. The more demon race people came, the more the sorcerer race would treat it seriously. Now that the human race had mobilized their entire army, the human race had nothing to do. The sorcerer race would never allow so many demon race people to enter the Eldritch world. Pass down my order. The entire army is on alert. Be prepared to meet the enemy at any time. After looking at the sky for a while, Feng Zichen estimated that this battle would not stop for at least 1,000 years. However, during this period, the human race still had to be vigilant. Who knew if the demon race had any backup plans to deal with the human race? Boom! Following Feng Zichen's order, the entire human race was activated. The immortal dragon city stood up and surrounded the human race territory. The immortal dragon's soul roared to the sky and swayed its huge body. It circled above the human race territory and protected the human race. At the same time, the chaos formation was also activated. A huge chaos light screen rose and covered the entire human race territory, preventing outsiders from entering. That should be enough, right? Looking at the human race's line of defense, Feng Zichen did not relax at all. However, he had done what he should. Next, it was up to the heavens. The war between the shamans and the demons shocked the whole untainted land. Many people looked over. However, when they saw that this battle did not involve quasi-saints, they inexplicably heaved a sigh of relief. The fact that no sage to be joined meant that the shamans and demons had not completely turned against each other. The great calamity that would engulf the entire untainted land had not yet arrived. Back then, a great war broke out between the three Khanate races and almost destroyed the primitive world. And the strength of the shaman and demon clans far surpassed the strength of the three innate clans. If they fought, the primordial world would be in trouble. These powerful beings might not be able to stay out of it, so they were very worried. The battle between nearly 10,000 Daluo Xianxian is truly shocking. One of the great divine powers exclaimed as he watched the two sorcerer tribes fighting. A chaotic battle between nearly 10,000 Daluo Xianxian was probably the first since the creation of the world. Who wouldn't be shocked when they saw this? Poor Wei's chances come. East Sea, Penglai Island. Xianxia, who was in seclusion to comprehend the innate runes, suddenly opened his eyes. It's time for the talisman Dao to appear. Looking at the battlefield in the sky, Xianxia said in a daze. After so many years, he had finally comprehended the innate talisman Dao. He had thought that with his accumulation and the One Yuan Dao talisman, it would be a simple matter to create the innate talisman Dao. However, Xianxia had overestimated himself. Ever since he returned from the netherworld, he had been in seclusion, trying to create the innate talisman Dao. However, he had failed. It was not a failure. He had created the talisman Dao. However, it was not the talisman Dao in his heart. It was the talisman Dao of the later generations. Inscribing the innate runes on spiritual objects to borrow the power of the gods of heaven and earth to erupt with power beyond one's own level. This was very simple. As long as one had a deep understanding of the innate runes, it could be done easily. However, it was easy to reach the upper limit in this way. It could mobilize the power of heaven and earth, but it could not mobilize the power of the innate Dao. In other words, it was impossible to prove Daluo Jinxian's Dao. It was even impossible to prove Tai Jinxian's Dao. At the end of the cultivation, if one wanted to continue to break through, one had to become one with the Dao. The talisman Dao created by Xianxia could not inherit the Dao. Obviously, it could not do this. That was to say, Xianxia's talisman Dao could make people live forever, but it could not prove the Dao. In the future, this was naturally nothing. Being able to live forever was enough to make people yearn for it. However, it could not be done now. It could not achieve Daluo Jingxian's Dao. No matter how miraculous it was, no one would take a look at it. Therefore, Xianxia gave it up. Even if the Dao he created could not become mainstream, it had to be qualified to become mainstream. If it could not achieve Daluo Jingxian's Dao, what was the use of creating it? Wasn't that a joke? After that, Xianxia looked at the innate runes repeatedly. He exhausted his wisdom and finally got inspiration from the 3 Dao of pills, artifacts, and formations. Xianxia traced the origin of these 3 Daos and found that the essence of these 3 Daos was a use of the innate runes. No, to be more precise, all the cultivation systems now were created with the innate runes as the foundation. Even the heavenly Dao, its essence was also the innate runes. It was just that the innate runes that formed it were too complicated and too huge. It was difficult for people to understand. After discovering this, Xianxia, no, Feng Zichen, was moved. Why didn't he bypass everything and use the innate runes as the foundation to create a new cultivation path? A path that included the talisman Dao but was broader and deeper. He did it when he thought of it. With inspiration, Xianxia, Feng Zichen, continued to study it. In the blink of an eye, countless years had passed. And the new talisman Dao, which was the innate talisman Dao, was finally created by Feng Zichen. What was the talisman Dao? Using talismans to carry the Dao was the talisman Dao. This innate talisman Dao was countless steps closer to the postnatal talisman Dao. Not only did it include the method of refining talismans of the later generations, but it also used this as the foundation to expand crazily. The talismans of the later generations could only borrow the power of heaven and earth, and the innate talisman could control the power of heaven and earth. Although they both used the power of heaven and earth, the former was borrowed, while the latter was the master. The difference between them was huge. According to Feng Zichen's idea, those who cultivated the innate talisman Dao would first comprehend the innate runes of heaven and earth, and then use this as the foundation to condense a natal talisman. This natal talisman was the foundation of a talisman Dao cultivator. In the future, they would rely on it to carry the Dao and become Daluo Jingxian. Talismans had the meaning of command. The innate talisman Dao meant to command the Dao of heaven and earth. With the natal talisman, one could condense the power of heaven and earth, and then use the power of heaven and earth to achieve the ability to command all things in heaven and earth. With the power of heaven and earth in one's body, this would put an end to it. In the future, when the gods returned to their positions and performed their duties, they would have to obtain their consent to borrow the power of heaven and earth. In this way, the mighty power would belong to oneself. Poor Wei, Xianxia, saw a trace of heaven's secret in the dark. Today, I specially set up a Dao to open up the great Dao for all living beings in the primordial world. This Dao is called the innate talisman Dao. With the innate talisman Dao, all the Dao of heaven and earth can be understood. Standing above the East Sea, Xianxia held the Yuan Taoist talisman in his hand and said slowly, "Boom." A terrifying aura rose from Xianxia's body. Then, innate runes surged out of his body and gathered into an innate talisman. This was Xianxia's natal talisman. He was deducing the cultivation process of the innate talisman Dao. Condensing the natal talisman meant that one had officially entered the innate talisman Dao and became a cultivator in the innate realm. As for why he was not an acquired realm cultivator, it was naturally because in today's era, acquired realm cultivators were really not mainstream and had no human rights. Then, this innate talisman constantly blended with heaven and earth and branded more innate runes on his body, making the patterns on his body more complex and mysterious. Finally, as this innate talisman blended with heaven and earth, the power of heaven and earth appeared on his body. Although it was only a trace, it also meant that he could mobilize the power of heaven and earth. The void refinement realm was also the sun god realm. Cultivating the innate talisman to this level meant that the cultivator had reached this realm. When the power of heaven and earth on the innate talisman reached the limit, it transformed again and a trace of power appeared on his body. Celestial immortal. When the power of heaven and earth appeared on the innate talisman, it meant that he had become an immortal. The power of heaven and earth became stronger and stronger, and gradually, a mysterious light was produced. This was the mystic immortal realm. When the mysterious light evolved to the limit, it became an immortal light. This was the golden immortal realm. At this realm, one's true spirit would be immortal and one's lifespan would be eternal. Only then could one be completely free from birth, old age, sickness, and death. It could be said that one would live as long as heaven and earth and shine as brilliantly as the sun and moon. The immortality that the later generations pursued was the realm of golden immortals. At this time, the innate talisman had evolved to the limit. If he wanted to take another step, he had to transform and sublimate and merge with Tao. Boom! The figure of the innate talisman shook as if it had broken some kind of limit and came to the world of Tao. A ray of Tao light rose from its body. Under this influence, the shape of the innate talisman began to change and gradually approached the appearance of a Tao seal. However, the power of merging with Tao alone was not enough to promote the transformation of the innate talisman. In the end, when the transformation of the innate talisman was complete, it became a Tao seal. An illusory Tao seal. Tai Jingxian. At this stage, the innate talisman represented the realm of Tai Jingxian. When the Tao seal completely solidified, it would be the time for it to become Daoyuo Jingxian. Boom! The illusory Tao seal suddenly shook and countless innate talismans flew out and merged with it, completely solidifying its body. Buzz! An aura of the Tao of heaven and earth spontaneously emanated from the Tao seal. It was as deep as the sea and mysterious and unpredictable. At this moment, it seemed to have become the incarnation of Tao. Using talismans to carry Tao. This was the highest achievement of the innate talisman Tao. The aura of the Tao emitted from this Tao seal was exactly the same as the Tao of the innate clear spirit. It was the Tao of the Xianxia Tao. In other words, this Tao seal was the Daoyuo Tao fruit of the Xianxia Tao. Using the innate spiritual treasure Yuan Tao talisman to suppress fate, forget the Tao of heaven. Innate talisman Tao rise. Xianxia shouted loudly as he sacrificed the Tao fruit to the 9 heavens and the deepest part of the eldritch world. That was the place closest to the Tao of heaven. The Tao fruit was long and radiant, explaining the mysteries of the innate talisman Tao. In an instant, everything about the innate talisman Tao was controlled by the Tao of heaven. Rumble! The entire eldritch world suddenly became oppressive. Even the witches and demons who were in the middle of a fierce battle stopped and stood quietly at the side. Because the Tao of heaven had descended. An extremely loud but cold voice resounded throughout the eldritch world and clearly entered the ears of every living being. This was the voice of the Tao of heaven. He recognized the existence of the innate talisman Tao. Rumble! An even larger innate talisman appeared and hung high in the sky for everyone to see. Then, this innate talisman Tao displayed the cultivation methods of the innate talisman Tao. Preaching. This was the Tao of heaven personally helping Xianxia spread the innate talisman Tao. The innate talisman Tao existed in the eldritch world for 100 years before slowly dissipating. And in these 100 years, there was no war in the eldritch world. All the races fell into a strange silence and did not dare to start a war to avoid attracting the attention of the Tao of heaven. Even the witches were no exception. Rumble! After the preaching, Xuanqing's reward came. Above the sky, a bright golden light appeared and then became more and more, covering a part of the sky. That was the heaven and earth merit. Endless heaven and earth merit. It was about half of the merit that Feng Zichen obtained when he established the innate sword Tao. The innate sword Tao came from the postnatal reverse, which was unprecedented. It had great creation, great luck, and great merit, more than the merit of a saint. The merit could be ranked in the top 3 in the eldritch world, second only to the reincarnation of Hutu and Yuwa. To have half of the merit of establishing the innate talisman Tao was already not a small amount. It could let an ordinary person who had never cultivated enter the sage-to-be realm. Boom. The heaven and earth merit fell and split into two. 80% flew to Xianxia and 20% flew to the first essence Tao talisman. The first essence Tao talisman was considered Feng Zichen's lifetime numinous treasure. It was a supreme-grade treasure and contained the changes of Khanate runes. This treasure played a huge role in Xianxia being able to establish the Khanate talisman Tao. Therefore, it could receive 20% of the merit. Of course, that was not its most precious part. Its most precious part was that it was not a Khanate numinous treasure nurtured by the primordial world but created by the great Tao. In other words, the quality of the first essence Tao talisman was extremely high. If it was nurtured well, it might be able to advance to a Khanate cardinal treasure. Buzz. After absorbing 20% of the heaven and earth merit, the first essence Tao talisman lit up with a ray of light. Its quality improved slightly and it was a small step closer to becoming a Khanate cardinal treasure. Seeing that the heaven and earth merit was useful for the first essence Tao talisman, Xianxia did not hesitate and injected 80% of his merit into its body. Buzz. Buzz. The first essence Tao talisman trembled violently and countless Khanate runes appeared on its body alternately, deducing the mysteries of the great Tao, and its aura became stronger. Unfortunately, the merit of establishing the Khanate talisman Tao was not enough to raise it to the level of a Khanate cardinal treasure. When the merit was exhausted, although the aura of the first essence Tao talisman was several times stronger, it was still a supreme-grade Khanate numinous treasure. It could only be said that it was infinitely close to a Khanate cardinal treasure but was still a step away. However, Xianxia was already very satisfied with that. Khanate cardinal treasures were too rare and could not be forced. After the merit, Xuanqing's second reward came. The augmentation of the myriad Tao. With the power of the myriad Tao augmenting his body, he could observe the world at a higher realm to increase his Tao comprehension. Chapter 476. The mysteries of heaven and earth were in front of him, and all kinds of feelings floated in Xianxing's heart, causing him to fall into a wonderful state. An auspicious cloud rose from Xianxing's head. It was the same color as the sky, and the innate clear spirit qi filled the air. Then the three flowers swayed out. They were all of the 12th realm and emitted natural spiritual energy. Daluo Jingxian had reached perfection. At this moment, Daluo Jingxian's Xianxing realm had reached its peak. Next, all he needed to do was to use the innate spiritual treasure to imbue the good and evil obsessions and sever one of them. Then he would be able to become a pre-saint. Actually, Xianxing's current accumulation was enough to break through to the sage-to-be realm. When he was determined to become the great emperor of the Eastern Pole, Qinghua, to save the people and save the world, he understood the kindness in his heart. Today, he had created the Khanate talisman Tao and his cultivation had reached the peak of Daluo Jingxian. In theory, he could cut off the good corpse at any time and cultivate into a quasi-saint corpse. But in reality, Xianxia was unable to break through to quasi-saint. His cultivation time was too short, and he had not been baptized by the cataclysmic tribulation. He needed the next cataclysmic tribulation to break through. It's over. After retreating from the Tao realm, Xianxia felt a little lost. That kind of feeling was really wonderful and it left him with an endless aftertaste. Unfortunately, this state of being blessed by the myriad Taos could only be obtained by those with great merit, and it was only temporary. If he wanted to experience it again, he didn't know if he would have the chance. With the establishment of innate talisman Taoism, the next step is to find a way to promote talisman Taoism. However, Xianxia soon returned to his senses and began to plan for the next period of time. That was the flourishing of the Khanate talisman Tao. Nowadays, the whole untainted land was in turmoil because of the war between the liches and the demons. It was an unprecedented chaotic world and the best time for the innate talisman Taoism to flourish. What are the characteristics of talisman Tao? It was talisman drawing. It was the weak defeating the strong. When the primordial world fell into chaos, it was Xianxing's opportunity. As long as he explained the characteristics of the innate talisman Taoism to the living beings of the primordial world, the living beings would definitely rush to practice the talisman Taoism. Even if it wasn't his main cultivation, he still had to take it as a secondary cultivation and practice the Tao of talisman drawing. Just imagine, if one were to suddenly take out a large stack of talismans during a battle, wouldn't the situation of the battle be reversed in an instant? On the battlefield, those who could become the mainstream were those who could increase their chances of survival. Moreover, when people were facing death, they would often be able to stimulate their great potential and explode with astonishing wisdom, achieving all kinds of unbelievable achievements. The sparks of wisdom were blossoming, giving birth to all kinds of wonderful ideas. With the help of some primitive beings who didn't want to die, the Tao of Talisman would definitely develop rapidly. Presumably, some powerful and strange Tao talismans would appear in the primordial world. Chaotic times were the golden age of the Khanate talisman Tao. In this peaceful and prosperous age, everyone was focused on comprehending the great Tao. There was no chance for these unorthodox methods and cultivation skills to flourish. With a plan in mind, Xianxia waved his sleeves and sent out his token in the air, beginning to gather the disciples of the Jie sect. Of course, the purpose of gathering them was to draw talismans. Even if Xianxia drew for 1,000 years, he wouldn't be able to draw many Tao talismans. However, with the help of the disciples of Jie school, it would be different. Except for Daoyuo Jinxian's Tao talismans, he had enough Tao talismans of other levels to supply the entire human race. Thinking about it, with the help of the Tao talismans, even if the human race still couldn't defeat the demons, they could still cause huge damage to them. As for the disciples of Jie school, they didn't know how to draw Tao talismans. Xianxia expressed that it didn't matter. If they didn't know, they could learn. Putting everything else aside, the thing that Jie school didn't lack the most was talents. Especially talents who were proficient in unorthodox methods. Most of the cultivation arts in the future were created by the disciples of Jie school. Perhaps, the 100 arts didn't flourish in their hands, but they still had to be blamed for the source. Wouldn't it be easy for such a talent to learn how to draw talismans? The heavenly Tao retreated. The magi and demons looked at each other and started fighting again. Now, the reason for the war basically had nothing to do with the human race. The main reason was the blood feud between the magi and demons that couldn't be resolved. After fighting for so long, the anger of the two races had been ignited. Especially under the influence of the tribulation aura, the hatred of the past surged into their hearts, almost making them lose their minds. Therefore, they fought even more fiercely, fighting with their lives on the line. Of course, there were those who lost their minds, and there were also those who didn't, such as the 10 great demon gods. After all, those who had been baptized by the East Emperor Bel were more resistant to the tribulation aura than ordinary people. Bai Zhe, who was not blinded by hatred, always remembered their purpose of coming here and the task that Di Jun had given them. Therefore, in the increasingly tragic battle, he found an opportunity to work together with the other 9 great demon gods to forcefully tear a gap in the strong defense line of the Magi and send an elite of the demon clan into the untainted land. "You're courting death." Seeing this, Xiang Lu was furious. He was about to activate the Khanate spirit treasure in his hand to kill all the elites of the demon clan. Under the full defense of the Magi, there was still an elite of the demon clan entering the untainted land. What an irony for the Magi! As a grand magus, Xiang Lu couldn't accept this humiliation. How dare you! It wasn't easy to send people into the untainted land. How could Bai Zhe watch Xiang Lu kill them? Therefore, at this moment, Bai Zhe attacked Xiang Lu without reservation, forcing him to not attack the elites of the demon clan. Bastard! Bai Zhe came aggressively. Xiang Lu didn't dare to underestimate him and hurriedly stood up to block him. Affected by this, he was no longer able to attack the elites of the demon clan. He could only watch them escape into the distance. Therefore, Xiang Lu became more and more furious. He vented his anger on Bai Zhe and fought with him crazily. On the other side, there were about 50,000 elites of the demon clan. As soon as they landed, they rushed toward the human clan. Their purpose was obvious. In the imperial court of human Tao, Feng Zichen suddenly trembled. An image appeared in his mind. It was the image of the human experts fighting with the 50,000 demon clan troops. This was the ability to predict the future. It was one of the 36 supreme theurgies of the Big Dipper. It could see the past, present, and future. It could see through the secrets of heaven and predict the future. It could know the fate of all living beings and know all karma. Oh no! The demon clan is here. With a thought, Feng Zichen knew the cause and effect. He was about to use his theurgy to kill all the elites of the demon clan. But just as he raised his right hand, before he could use his theurgy, he sensed that there were 3 gazes in the void looking at him from afar. The aura of the owners of the 3 lines of sight was very similar to Dijun's aura. However, there were some subtle differences. Is it Dijun? No. It's his 3 corpses. Chapter 477. Among the 3 auras, Feng Zichen sensed the aura of Dijun's evil corpse. The identities of the other 2 were self-evident. They were Dijun's good corpse and self-corpse. Even the evil corpse and Dijun's 3 corpses had appeared. Hiss, Dijun actually severed the 3 corpses? Thinking of this, Feng Zichen's heart was suddenly shocked. One had to know that among the 6 saints, only the Taiching saint had severed the 3 corpses. The rest had only severed the good and evil corpses. Even Yuhua had severed the good corpse. As the saying went, good and evil were easy to sever, but it was difficult to know oneself. From this, one could see how shocking it was that Dijun could sever the 3 corpses. But immediately he calmed down. Wasn't it normal for Dijun to sever the 3 corpses? Otherwise, why would he dare to enter seclusion to break through to the primordial chaos Tao realm? It was because he had severed the 3 corpses. Not only Dijun, but all the half-step primordial chaos existences in the celestial sect of wonders had probably severed the 3 corpses. This was the method of Tao ancestor Hongjun to become a saint, and it was also the method of becoming the primordial chaos Daluo Jingxian. As the successor of the celestial sect of wonders, this method was naturally the first choice for the disciples of the celestial sect of wonders to achieve the Tao. Of course, other than using strength to achieve the Tao, this was the only way they knew. His expression changed for a while, and Feng Zichen slowly withdrew his hand. With Dijun's 3 corpses, he probably wouldn't have the chance to attack this group of demon elites. Believe it or not, as soon as he attacked, Dijun's 3 corpses, together with all the quasi-saints of the demon race, would attack him together and blast the human territory into pieces. Dijun was warning him. As long as he didn't attack, the quasi-saints of the demon race wouldn't attack. Dijun, oh Dijun, you sent out the 3 corpses? Although I can't interfere with this battle between humans and demons, you inadvertently exposed your strength. Do you know? You, Dijun, the great desolate celestial emperor, are not as powerful as I imagined. Feng Zichen thought to himself as he sat back on the throne. This time, Dijun exposed his real realm. He was still far from breaking through the realm of origin Daluo Jingxian. He was not as close as the powerful mediums in Untainted Land had guessed. Severing the 3 corpses was only the end of the quasi-sage path, reaching the great circle of quasi-sage. After that, he still needed to combine the 3 corpses into one before he could be considered to have reached the realm of the primordial Daluo Jingxian. Obviously, Dijun had failed to do so. Otherwise, his 3 corpses would not have come out to wander around. Instead, they would have gone into seclusion with him. On the other hand, Dong Huangtai had not made a move for a long time, which made Feng Zichen worried. He had already caused so much trouble for the demon clan, but Dong Huangtai did not react at all. He did not even show the shadow of the 3 corpses. Obviously, he had reached a critical moment and was about to combine the 3 corpses. If Dong Huangtai really succeeded, then the human clan would have no hope. On this day, the demon clan elites finally arrived outside the immortal dragon city after traveling for several years in the Untainted Land. The Untainted Land was too big. Just traveling alone had wasted a lot of time for the demon clan elites. Fortunately, the elites of the sorcerer tribe were fighting with the elites of the demon tribe in the sky. Their journey was smooth and they did not encounter any trouble. Kill! Seeing the immortal dragon city, the leading demon general gave the order. The demon clan army immediately got into formation and advanced forward. This time, the demon clan army had a total of 50,000 people. It was 10 times more than the previous time. The Khanate formation they used was naturally different. As the formation took shape, the shadows of 108 ancient stars slowly rose above the demon clan elites. They faced the 108 main stars of the heavenly spirits and earthly fiends in the boundless starry sky. Minor heavenly cycle star formation. This was the name of this formation. It was one of the top 10 Khanate formations that the demon clan had mastered. In the boundless starry sky, the heavenly spirits and earthly fiends trembled inexplicably. A total of 108 stars fell down towards the shadows of the main stars. This was the function of the minor heavenly cycle star formation. It borrowed the power of the 108 main stars of the heavenly spirits and earthly fiends in the boundless starry sky to fight for it. Rumble! It was as if an ancient god was awakening. Terrifying auras spread out from the shadows of the stars. Then, the shadows of gods walked out from the shadows of the stars and charged towards the immortal dragon city. Every main star of the untainted land represented a Khanate Tao. These gods that walked out from the shadows of the main stars were the gods that they gave birth to. They were the Khanate gods, the embodiment of Tao. They were also the Khanate star gods when they became Daluo Jingxian. In other words, these shadows were the projections of Daluo Jingxian and possessed the power of Daluo Jingxian. A star god clenched his fists and punched towards the immortal dragon city. Bang! 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 Daluo Jingxian's power was so strong that the immortal dragon city trembled uncontrollably. If it wasn't for the fact that it had devoured the flesh of thousands of demon clan elites, it wouldn't have been able to withstand the attacks of these star gods. However, even so, the immortal dragon city was on the verge of collapse under the attacks of the star gods. It was as if it would be destroyed at any time. Die, demon clan! At this moment, 9 powerful auras rose from the back of the humans. They turned into 9 towering figures and charged towards the demon clan elites. They were the 9 human kings. Each of them was comparable to Daluo Jingxian. Facing 50,000 demon clan elites, Feng Zichen didn't panic at all. Even if the 9 human kings were here. With the 9 human kings attacking, there was no doubt about the outcome of this battle. One Daluo Jingxian might not be able to defeat 50,000 well-trained demon clan elites. However, with 9 Daluo Jingxian attacking at the same time, no matter how exquisite the demon clan's formation was, it couldn't withstand the great power of Daluo Jingxian. Not long after, the demon clan elites were all annihilated. Damn it! In the sky, the demon clan elites were all dead. Bai Zhe sensed it immediately. He couldn't help but roar and charge towards the sorcerer tribe. Pass down my orders. All soldiers, break through the sorcerer tribe's defense line at all costs. Enter the eldritch world and destroy the humans. Bai Zhe was furious and gave the order. The demon clan army received the order and charged towards the sorcerer tribe. In Daluo Jingxian's side, the demon clan and the sorcerer tribe had about the same number of troops. However, the difference between the cultivators below them was much greater. The demon clan had 10,000 times more Tai Jingxian than the sorcerer tribe. Therefore, under the relentless attacks of the demon clan elites, the sorcerer tribe elites resisted for 100 years with great difficulty. In the end, they were no match for the demon clan's human wave attack and were defeated. This also meant that the defense line set up by the sorcerer tribe had completely lost its effect. The demon clan elites attacked the eldritch world. Fortunately, although the sorcerer tribe elites were defeated, the grand sorcerers didn't. They even gained a huge advantage and suppressed the demon gods. Of course, they would suppress the demon gods. In the past, when the sorcerer tribe hadn't cultivated the fiend god path, the demon gods couldn't defeat the grand sorcerers. Now, the grand sorcerers cultivated the fiend god path. Not only did their strength improve, but they also made up for their shortcomings and could use Khanate spirit treasures. The demon gods. How could they be a match for the grand sorcerers? It was normal for them to be suppressed. Kill. After the demon clan army arrived at the Eldritch world, the first thing they did was to confirm the location of the human clan's territory and then rush there. Moreover, unlike the demon clan elites sent by Zay, this demon clan army came to the Eldritch world on a star boat. In other words, they would be very fast. Of course, this was not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was that there were more than 90 million of them. Other than those who died in the battle with the Sorcerer Tribe army, all the remaining demon clan elites had gathered here. Driving thousands of ragged star boats, they marched towards the human army in a formidable array. In just a few days, this demon clan army arrived at the immortal dragon city. What a strong defense! But against the demon clan, no matter how strong the defense is, it's like paper. The leader of the demon lords looked at the immortal dragon city from afar and sighed in admiration. But this couldn't stop the demon clan army. Just as he had said, no defense could stop the advance of the demon race army. Because even the powerful sorcerer tribe had been defeated. Who else in the Eldritch world could compete with them? Soldiers, get into formation. Form the heavenly cycle stars formation. The demon lord waved his hand and ordered coldly. Then, 364 demon gods with star power around them flew up from the demon clan army with heavenly cycle star streamers in their hands. Then, the demon clan army moved. With the 364 demon gods in the sky as the benchmark, they divided into 364 armies. Boom! More than 90 million demon clan soldiers activated their dermic powers at the same time and infused them into the heavenly cycle star streamers. In an instant, a huge amount of demon aura shot up into the sky and dyed the sky black. Zhouxing in the boundless starry sky vibrated together. Each of them sent down strands of star power toward the heavenly cycle star streamers. The heavenly cycle stars formation was completed. At the same time, the demon aura that covered the sky was dispersed by the endless star power. The heavenly cycle stars formation was the most powerful formation of the demon clan. It was also the formation that could bring out the full strength of the demon clan. It wasn't that the demon clan couldn't set up this formation without Zhouxing. Instead, the heavenly cycle stars formation set up by Zhouxing was the most powerful. The heavenly cycle stars formation's strength lay in its Zhouxing. Without Zhouxing, this formation would still be profound. However, it wouldn't be one of the top 3 formations in the primordial world. It would only be one of the top 10. With the heavenly cycle star streamers, the demon clan could also set up the heavenly cycle stars formation. However, its strength would be greatly reduced. It was the standard of being one of the top 10 in the primordial world. Of course, even so, the strength of the heavenly cycle stars formation was far from what humans could contend against. With this formation, the demon clan will be able to dominate the primordial world. The demon lord leading the demon clan was somewhat mesmerized by the magnificent heavenly cycle stars formation. This person was different from other demon clan members. He was a true Khanate god fiend, the darling of heaven and earth. He was destined to become Daluo Jinxian. Even demon gods had to address him as fellow Taoist. Therefore, he was known as the Demon Lord and was the commander of the 90 million demon clan soldiers. As for the 364 demon lords holding the heavenly cycle star streamers, they weren't simple either. They weren't Khanate god fiends but the sons of demon gods. Yes, they were the sons of the demon god overseeing Zhouxing. Chapter 478. Because of this, they were able to stand out from the billions of demons and wield the heavenly cycle star banner. Kill! For the glory of the demons, slaughter the humans. At the command of the demon lord, the demon army activated the formation with all their might and launched an attack on the humans. Illusory images of ancient stars appeared one after another, emitting a vast aura. They froze the surrounding void, laws, great Tao, and Khanate Chi. At the same time, stalwart figures walked out from the illusory images of the stars. They controlled the power of the stars and blasted toward the immortal dragon city. As for the human race experts, they were shocked speechless when they saw the endless demon race army rushing over. When the heavenly cycle star formation appeared, the human experts fell into despair. How are we going to fight? The difference was too great. With so many demon armies working together to set up the heavenly cycle star formation, even Daluo Jingxian would probably be refined to death without any chance of survival. For a moment, the humans were in danger. With a deep roar, the 9 lords attacked together. They stood in the void in the position of the 9 palaces and activated the chaos formation with all their might. The demons' attack was too strong. The immortal dragon city alone would not be able to withstand it. Therefore, the 9 lords did not hesitate to activate the strongest formation of the humans, the chaos formation, to resist the heavenly cycle star formation of the demons. The human experts could lose confidence and despair, but the 9 lords could not. They were the backbone of the humans. If they lost all hope, the humans would really have no hope. In an instant, 9 connate spiritual treasures appeared and emitted shocking waves. The chaos light screen underwent a huge change. Streaks of light appeared from its body, emitting a primordial aura. Those were connate Dao laws. The connate Dao laws emitted by the 9 connate spiritual treasures. With them, the defense of the chaos formation would be greatly improved. It could even become the strongest defense in the primordial world. Unfortunately, as the most important components of the chaos formation, the 9 connate spiritual treasures had not been collected by Feng Zichen. Only 4 of the connate spiritual treasures were real. The other 5 were just illusory images. In other words, this great primal chaos array was just like the great heavenly cycle star array of the demon race. It was incomplete and imperfect. Therefore, the current primal chaos formation was still quite a distance away from the strongest defense of the primordial world. Rumble. After being blasted away by the massive heavenly cycle star formation's attack, the chaotic light screen emitted a loud creaking sound. It first shook for a moment before it suddenly shattered. However, the demon race's attack had exhausted all of its strength. Swoosh! With a flash of chaotic light, the chaotic light screen was restored to its original state, firmly blocking the advance of the demon army. The chaos bead was the foundation of the chaos array. As long as it was not destroyed, the chaos array would not be destroyed. Naturally, the chaos light screen would be reborn as it was destroyed. What a miraculous formation! It can actually block the attack of the grand heavenly cycle star formation. But how many times can you block it? Seeing that this attack did not work, the leader of the demon lords could not help but be a little surprised, but he did not think too much about it. There were countless capable people in the primordial world with endless means. It was normal for them to be able to block 1 or 2 attacks from the demons. Again, the leader of the demon lords ordered again. Boom, boom, boom. Beams of terrifying starlight shot out from the massive heavenly cycle star formation and blasted towards the humans. The power contained in the starlight was already enough to severely injure Daluo Jingxian. However, such a powerful force was blocked by the great primal chaos formation every single time. Although the chaotic light screen had to be broken every time to block the attack of the massive heavenly cycle star formation, it was reborn every time. Whenever the chaotic light screen was broken, it would regenerate in the next moment. Thus, the attacks of the massive heavenly cycle star formation would never be able to harm the humans. What kind of formation is this? How can it be so powerful? Only then did the leader of the demon lords realize that something was amiss. The massive heavenly cycle star formation was one of the most powerful formations in the primordial world. Only a connate formation of the same level could block its attack. I did not expect a mere human to possess a connate formation that is comparable to the massive heavenly cycle star formation. How surprising! But I don't believe that you can really block the attack of the massive heavenly cycle star formation. All soldiers, listen up. Activate the formation with all your might and attack the humans at all costs. The massive heavenly cycle star formation had been famous in the primordial world for many years. Apart from the 12 divine beings formation, it had never met a worthy opponent. The demon lords did not believe that any connate formation of the humans could block it. The demon army did not hold back. They unleashed all their power and activated the massive heavenly cycle star formation. For a moment, the power of the stars fell from the sky like rain. Zhouxing's shadow was even more dazzling. It was as if it had a physical body and truly descended from the boundless starry sky. From afar, this place seemed to have become a boundless starry sky. The demon race's change brought great pressure to the 9 kings of the human race, forcing them to change their strategy. They switched from defense to offense and activated the massive heavenly cycle star formation to attack the demon race army. Swoosh, 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 beams of Khanate divine light shot out from the massive heavenly cycle star formation. They were extremely dazzling and drowned the demon race army like a river of stars. Khanate Chi turning into Khanate divine light was a further application of the massive heavenly cycle star formation. The next step would be to turn the Khanate divine light into Khanate godfiends. At that time, the massive heavenly cycle star formation would be at its peak state and be able to fight against the complete massive heavenly cycle star formation. But now, the 9 great Khanate spiritual treasures were not complete. The massive heavenly cycle star formation could not reach this stage yet. Rumble! The massive heavenly cycle star formation was activated and turned into a huge star formation. It protected the demon race army and prevented them from being destroyed by the Khanate divine light. Bang 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 bang. The Khanate divine light hit the massive heavenly cycle star formation and produced a series of loud bangs. However, it could not break through its defense and even showed signs of being defeated by the massive heavenly cycle star formation's counterattack. Oh no! Your Majesty, we are here to lend you a helping hand. Above the immortal dragon city, the human experts saw that the massive heavenly cycle star formation was at a disadvantage. They all stepped forward to help the 9 kings activate the massive heavenly cycle star formation. Seeing that the demon race army was unable to break through the massive heavenly cycle star formation, the human experts gradually regained their confidence. The demon race was not that scary after all. With confidence, they immediately took action and began to counterattack. Although the human experts were not strong, no matter how small an ant was, it was still meat. They could share a lot of the pressure for the 9 lords. Count me in. The void shook and Yi Ang's figure walked out. He stood with the 9 lords and activated the massive heavenly cycle star formation with all his might. Yi Ang of the human race, the previous king of the human race, the only disciple of Saint Taiching, and the real Daluo Jingxian. With his help, the pressure on the 9 lords was greatly reduced. After Yi Ang, 3 more divine lights came from outer space and fell into the massive heavenly cycle star formation. They were the 3 ancestors of the human race, Suiren, the Chou clan, and the Zi clan. The 3 of them were all Daluo Jingxian. They had been cultivating in Jinxiu heaven. Now that they sensed that the human race was in danger, they quickly returned from outer space. Greetings, Emperor Sui. All the humans present here were extremely excited when they saw Suiren return, and even their battle intent rose greatly. In the current human race, only Suiren could compare to Feng Zichen in terms of reputation, apart from Yuehua. He was the one who lit the fire of civilization for the human race. He was the real ancestor of the human race. Everyone, it's more important to deal with the demons. Suiren and the other 2 also knew that now was not the time for small talk. They quickly activated their magic power to help the 9 lords activate the massive heavenly cycle star formation. With the help of the 4 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals, the power of the Grand Primal Chaos formation instantly multiplied. The Grand Heavenly Cycle Star formation could no longer resist its power. The situation was turning around, and the scales of victory were gradually tilting towards the human race. However, at this critical moment, something unexpected happened. In the sky, the Heavenly Cycle Demon God, who was fighting with the Grand Shaman, sensed that the situation below was not good. He was shocked and quickly sent out a trace of his divine consciousness to activate Zhouxing and increase the output of star power below. However, the battle of the Daluo. He could not afford to be distracted at all. In order to help the demon army below, the Heavenly Cycle Demon God was beaten to a pulp by the Grand Shamans. However, he had achieved his goal. Streaks of powerful star power descended from the boundless starry sky and poured into the heavenly cycle star banner. Boom, boom, boom. However, the star power was too strong. It was so strong that the heavenly cycle star banner controlled by the demon army could no longer withstand it and shattered. The shattering of the heavenly cycle star banner triggered a series of huge changes. The first to bear the brunt was the massive heavenly cycle star formation. Even the foundation of the formation was shattered. The massive heavenly cycle star formation could no longer be maintained and exploded as well. Boom! A sound that shook the entire untainted land was heard. Vast amounts of star power surged out and destroyed everything in Joseo's way. After a long time, the star power slowly calmed down. As for the battlefield, it had become a complete mess. The void was filled with cracks, torn apart by the star power. The massive heavenly cycle star formation was also shattered by the huge impact and could not be restored. The immortal dragon city was also riddled with holes. The human experts were all injured and had completely lost their ability to fight. Fortunately, the 12 Daluo Jinxian of the human race did not suffer too much damage. On the other hand, the demons who were clearly at the center of the explosion used some unknown method to not suffer too much damage and still maintain their fighting strength. Form the formation. Form the Great Nine Heavens formation. The moment the massive heavenly cycle star formation shattered, the demons seemed to have been prepared and immediately moved. They changed their formation at the fastest speed and formed another formation, the Great Nine Heavens formation. This was the Khanate formation that protected the heaven realm in the past. It was ranked second among all the formations of the demon race, second only to the massive heavenly cycle star formation. Everyone, let's fight. Swearin waved his hand and kept the injured people. He looked at the demons in front of him and said. Everyone nodded with a solemn expression. Now, the human race could only rely on them. Demons, how dare you? However, before they could make a move, they saw a sorcerer tribe army from afar. They shouted as they charged toward them. Chapter 479. The witch race army had arrived. After being defeated by the demon race army in the sky, the witch race army had been holding back a lot of anger. They wanted to get back at them at all times and wash away the humiliation they had suffered. Therefore, they rested on the ground for a while and regrouped. They followed the traces of the demon race army and chased after them. This time, they had to destroy the demon race army. Kill! As the witch race army rushed forward, they automatically formed a formation and became one with the surrounding turbid air. This was the Khanate turbid air formation. The Khanate formation that was carved on the primordial land was obtained by the witch race. It was the most commonly used formation when the witch race fought everywhere. It was also a formation that was second only to the 12 divine beings formation. The witch race army and the demon race army were once again engaged in a battle. Previously, in the battle in the sky, it was not the witch race's home ground, so they could not use their full strength. Therefore, the witch race army was no match for the demon race army. However, it was different now. Standing on the ground, the witch race's power could be endless. They could unleash all their power or even more. It was still unknown who would win between the two races. Swearin and the others looked at this scene in a daze. They had originally planned to fight to the death, but they did not expect such a change. However, they soon reacted and hurriedly attacked the demon race. Everyone, follow me and reduce the pressure on our friends from the witch race. The difference in strength between the demon race and the witch race was too great. Even if the witch race had the home ground advantage, they might not be able to win. It was because of this that Swearin decided to help the witch race. Otherwise, when the witch race was defeated, it would be their turn. How dare you? Seeing that the situation of the demon race army below was not good, for powerful auras soared into the sky from the heavenly court and pounced towards the primordial land. Clearly, these were 4 great overarching golden celestials. They occupied the heaven realm, a rich place, and the entire boundless starry sky. In addition, they had an extremely large population. It would be surprising if the number of Daluo Jinxian of the demon race was only on par with the witch race. There must be many Daluo Jingxian of the demon race hiding in the dark. There might even be powerful figures in the Sage-to-be realm who had not appeared. This was not impossible. After all, the resources of the demon race were too abundant. What's more, the demons were the orthodox race. No matter what, Di Jun was the heavenly emperor personally conferred by the Dao ancestor. He was the nominal ruler of the primordial world. This was undeniable. Under such conditions, there would definitely be some hidden almighties who would seek refuge. Of course, the demon race was holding back, and the sorcerer race would not be so foolish as to reveal all of their powers. They also had some experts who had yet to show themselves. However, the population base was there. No matter how well the sorcerer tribe hid, they could not hide as well as the demon tribe. As an emperor, he had to have many trump cards. There were so many of them that no one could see through them. Only then could they ensure their own safety. If all his trump cards were exposed, then this emperor would not be far from death. If Feng Zichen could understand the logic, Di Jun and Di Jiang would definitely understand it as well. The grand sorcerers of the sorcerer tribe were all held back by the demon gods. Therefore, the 6 demon gods easily came to the untainted land and stood in front of Suiren and the others. "Fellow Taoists, please." Without saying anything else, the 4 demon gods charged forward with their strongest methods the moment they appeared. Suiren, the Chou clan, the Zi clan, and the Ong clan, the only 4 Daluo Jingxian of the human race, each faced a demon god. As for the 9 kings of the human race, they followed the original plan and continued to help the sorcerer race deal with the demon race. However, even with the help of the 9 kings, the sorcerer race army still did not gain the upper hand in the battle with the demon race army. They could only barely maintain their victory. Demons, listen up. Go to the lower realm and support the front line. Seeing that the battle was in a stalemate, Di Jun was furious and ordered coldly. The ones fighting with the sorcerer race army below were only the elites of the demon race. Apart from that, the demon race also had countless ordinary warriors. Although these clansmen were not as strong as the elites, they were large in number and were also an extremely powerful force. With their help, they would definitely be able to wipe out the human race in one fell swoop. Under Di Jun's order, the Tai Jingxian demon race walked out of their cave abodes and rushed to the eldritch world. Just as the demon race army was about to move, the water dragon lord stepped out from the East Sea and led hundreds of thousands of dragon race elites to support the human race. At the same time, the other 4 Khanate clans each sent out a Daluo Jingxian to lead the elites of their clans to support the human race. The 5 Khanate clans were the allies of the human race. Now that the human race was in trouble, they certainly would not sit back and do nothing. Now, they sent out a Daluo Jingxian to lead the battle. Behind him, there were several Daluo Jingxian preparing to attack at any time. After the reinforcements from the demon race and the reinforcements from the 5 Khanate clans joined the battle became even more intense. This battle lasted for 1,000 years, but there was no clear winner. In the end, when both sides saw that they could not do anything to each other, they retreated and temporarily stopped fighting. However, the consequences of this battle were extremely serious. The void was completely destroyed, and time was completely distorted. The chaos formation was also damaged and temporarily unusable. The immortal dragon city was beaten until only its foundation was left. All the defensive lines of the human race were completely broken. This was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the demon race had completely gained a foothold in the eldritch world. Without any defense, the human race was completely exposed to the demon race. The human race was really in danger. In the blink of an eye, another 100 years had passed. In this short 100 years, too many things had happened, especially the human race. Under the attack of the demon race, the human race had lost more than half of their population. This was under the condition that the witch race had delayed the main force of the demon race, and the protection of the 5 Khanate clans, as well as the protection of the Dao talismans sent by Xianxia. Otherwise, the human race would have suffered even greater losses. But now, the human race was almost unable to hold on, even with the help of the 5 Khanate clans and the witch race. The attacks of the demon race became more and more frenzied, to the point where they were willing to risk their lives. This was because as the war continued, the demon race gradually discovered that eating humans and demons could increase their cultivation. This discovery made the demon race completely crazy. They fought their way into the human territory with all their might, just to eat humans and increase their cultivation. In this world, what could be more tempting than increasing one's cultivation? With this reason, even without Dijun's order, the demon race would not let the human race go. And this was not the most worrying thing. The most worrying thing was that the demon race had discovered that the human race's blood seemed to be able to restrain the physical body of the witch race. After the demon race devoured a large number of humans, their bodies were inevitably stained with the blood of humans. Therefore, when they fought with the witch race again, they easily broke through the witch race's defense. It might be a coincidence if it happened once or twice, but if it happened too many times, it would inevitably attract the attention of people with ulterior motives. For example, now, an elite demon race who had recently risen was reporting his discovery to the Demon Lord. "Sir Demon Lord, I discovered that the human race's blood seems to be able to restrain the physical body of the witch race." The reason why he could rise so quickly was because he had eaten a large number of humans. Therefore, in the battle with the witch race, he gradually discovered the effect of the human race's blood. Is this true? Is the human race really that useful? Hearing this, the demon lord stood up agitatedly and grabbed the demon soldier's shoulder, asking in disbelief. If this discovery was true, it would be enough to reverse the situation between the witch race and the demon race and completely establish the supreme hegemony of the demon race. How could the demon lord not be agitated? Quick, go and catch some humans for me." After a moment, the demon lord calmed down and hurriedly ordered without waiting for the demon soldier to reply. It was easy to verify whether this was true or not. Wouldn't they know if they caught some humans and tested it? If this is true, you will be the first to be credited. I will definitely report to His Majesty and ask him to help you achieve the Daluo status. The demon lord turned around and said to the demon soldier standing at the side. If this was true, then based on his discovery alone, he would definitely become a grand heavenly Dao immortal. In addition, with the demon race's foundation, it wouldn't be difficult to create a Daluo Xianxia. If the demon race wanted to capture humans, they wouldn't be able to stop them even if they defended with all their might. Thus, after a few years, hundreds of thousands of human immortals were captured by the demon race. Among them, there was no lack of cultivators in the Tai Jingxian realm. The demon lord reached out and made a grabbing motion. Hundreds of thousands of humans were reduced to a bloody mist before they could even make a sound. Condense. Then, the demon lord formed a Dao seal and condensed the bloody mist into a ball. Then he opened his mouth and spat out a ball of true fire, refining the bloody mist into a crimson longsword. Using living beings to refine weapons was a demonic technique. Acquired spirit treasures. The quality of these humans is pretty good. I'm more and more convinced that human blood has the ability to restrain the witch race's physical body. Everyone follow me. Let's find a shaman and see if this sword made from the flesh and blood of a human will really work. After examining the long sword in his hand for a while, the demon lord seemed very satisfied. After praising it, he picked up the sword and headed outside. Clearly, he was going to test it out with the witch race. How is this possible? A Tai Jingxian warrior looked at the crimson longsword in the demon lord's hand with incredulity and uttered his last words. In the face of this blood-colored sword, the physical body that he was so proud of was easily sliced apart. What a good sword! What a great sword! The demon lord trembled with excitement after confirming the sword's effects. Then, he used the blood-red sword to kill a few more sorcerer tribe members. After realizing that the effect was the same, he was relieved. He kept the sword, grabbed a sorcerer tribe member and flew into the sky. Chapter 480. From the moment he confirmed that the bloodline of the human race could indeed restrain the physical body of the witch race, the human race was hopeless. Di Jun would definitely kill the human race at all costs. Now, the only thing that worried Di Jun was how to deal with Feng Zichen. If they really forced him into a corner, even if the demon race could withstand his revenge, they would have to pay a huge price. In the Cultivation civilization, when an individual's strength reached a certain level, it was not a joke for one person to threaten an entire race. It was real. Obviously. The current Feng Zichen had such strength. This is indeed a problem. If the human race is not destroyed, Feng Zichen will have scruples and will not dare to completely fall out with the demon race. But if the human race is destroyed, he will have no scruples. The demon race will have to be on guard against his revenge day and night. Therefore, as long as Feng Zichen does not die, the human race will not be able to move. Kunpeng also said with a sigh. In this world, there was only a thief for 1,000 days. There was no such thing as guarding against a thief for 1,000 days. Thinking of this, everyone sighed together. With the strength of the demon race, it was not difficult to defeat Feng Zichen. However, it was difficult or even impossible to kill him. When one's strength reached Feng Zichen's level, it was really too difficult to kill him. Facing the encirclement of experts of the same level, if he could not defeat them, he could totally run. If he wanted to break out of the encirclement, unless a saint personally made a move, no one could stop him. But there's no rush. Di Jun exclaimed softly and suddenly smiled as he said to everyone, "Your Majesty, what's the good news?" Seeing Di Jun's expression, everyone asked curiously. This good news came out of nowhere. I have a feeling that the day of Tai's breakthrough is approaching. At least 100 years, at most 1,000 years, he will definitely be able to step into the realm of primordial Daluo Jingxian. By then, a mere Feng Zichen will be nothing. Di Jun said excitedly as he looked at the sun in the distance. After waiting for so many years, Tai was finally about to attain the Tao. Di Jun did not hide anything from Kunpeng and the others, nor did he need to. Tai was about to attain the Tao. Heaven and earth would definitely sense it and send down all sorts of strange phenomena. At that time, even if Di Jun didn't say anything, everyone would know. Moreover, Tai's attainment of the Tao was a good thing to suppress the demon race's morale. Why would he hide it? Over the years, the wizard tribe had caused a series of major events in the untainted land. They had the primordial treasure, the primordial geomancy map, and the later two reincarnation. However, the demons did not do anything. Their morale was inevitably low. Now that Tai had achieved his Tao, it was only right to strengthen the demons' morale. Taoist brother Tai is about to attain the Tao? That is truly a joyous occasion for the demon race. When everyone heard this, some were shocked, some were envious, some were excited, and some were jealous. All kinds of emotions surged in their hearts at the same time, and they were momentarily absent-minded. Attaining the Tao, how much people yearned for it. Only when one reached this realm could one truly be able to survive even if heaven and earth were destroyed. No one doubted Di Jun's words. As brothers of the same origin, Di Jun naturally sensed that Tai was about to break through. Speaking of which, after Tai broke through, Di Jun would obtain huge benefits. He was about to break through as well. This was the benefit of being brothers. The two of them came from the same origin. One had attained the Tao, while the other's realm would also increase under the guidance of his aura. With Di Jun's current realm, if his realm increased, wouldn't he be about to attain the Tao? Everyone, I'll have to trouble you during this period of time. Together with me, keep an eye on Feng Zichen. Don't let him escape. Retracting his gaze, Di Jun said leisurely. After Tai attained the Tao, Feng Zichen would no longer be a threat. The human race would also become fish on the chopping board, at the mercy of the demons. Yes, Your Majesty. Huh? What's going on? Why do I have a creepy feeling? The moment Di Jun finished speaking, in the human Tao Imperial Court, Feng Zichen suddenly felt a chill. He could not help but shiver, and a great fear arose in his heart. It was as if the crisis of death was coming. Without thinking too much, Feng Zichen hurriedly used the Khanate 8 trigrams to deduce the origin of the crisis. However, even after using all the deduction techniques that he was proficient in, he still could not deduce where the crisis came from. It was as if what he felt earlier was an illusion. There was no crisis. This time, we're in big trouble. His heart sank. Feng Zichen understood that this calamity would not be easy to pass. Those that could be deduced were not big trouble. On the contrary, those that could not be deduced were the real big trouble. There was a fatal crisis. Because this meant that there was an existence that surpassed Feng Zichen in the Tao of deduction who was scheming against him. Or, there was an existence whose realm far surpassed Feng Zichen who wanted to deal with him. No matter which of these two situations it was, Feng Zichen could not deal with it. Yes, I'll go find Empress Nuwa. With a thought, Feng Zichen was about to leave the human Tao imperial court and go to Jinxiu heaven to ask Empress Nuwa where this calamity came from. He could not deduce it, but Empress Nuwa's realm was profound and powerful. She would definitely be able to see through it. It was absolutely right to find her. Unfortunately, Feng Zichen had a good idea, but he had not yet left the human Tao imperial court. As soon as he moved, he felt several gazes in the void looking at him from afar. Di Jun, Kun Peng, Shihi, stopping, Feng Zichen's face darkened slightly. He silently retreated to his original spot and fell into silence. At this point, how could he not understand that this calamity came from the demons? Otherwise, why would the demons make such a big move and send out almost all their top experts just to keep an eye on him and not let him leave the demon's sight? Strange. Why do the demons give me a feeling that I'm going to die? Feng Zichen was very puzzled now. If the demons could defeat him, he would of course believe it, because he really could not defeat them. But if the demons could kill him, Feng Zichen did not believe it at all. If he wanted to escape, then the demons would definitely not be able to keep him. Then, there was a problem. Where did that premonition of death come from? Feng Zichen's doubts did not last long. Soon he knew the answer. Because a great throbbing suddenly came from the primordial world. The Khanate Tao hung down one after another, and the laws of heaven and earth also appeared and gathered towards the sun star. At this moment, all the powerful figures in the primordial world knew. The Eastern Emperor Tai was about to achieve the Tao. Before Tai had really taken that step, heaven and earth had already reacted first. The Khanate Tao and the laws of heaven and earth spontaneously appeared and moved closer to the sun star to welcome the great existence that was about to be born. The first primordial chaos Daluo Jinxian in the world. So, this is where the demon's confidence to kill me lies? Seeing this, Feng Zichen already understood everything. Sage-to-be experts could not kill him, nor could half-primordial experts. However, as the primordial chaos Daluo Jinxian, the Eastern Emperor Tai could kill him. Although, at his level, he had already transcended life and death. The so-called death was just a deep sleep. However, with the ability of the demon race, they could extend his slumber for a long time. So, now, I can only hope that the backup plan I left behind can play its role. At this point, Feng Zichen had no other choice. He could not escape, so he could only fight to the death with the demons. Is Tai about to achieve the Tao? One by one, the powerful figures walked out of seclusion and looked up at the sun star, their hearts filled with excitement. Tai was about to achieve the Tao and step into the legendary primordial chaos Daluo Jinxian realm. This was definitely a far-reaching and extremely meaningful matter. Because this not only confirmed that the legendary primordial chaos Daluo Jinxian realm really existed. In the past, everyone knew that there was such a realm that had the power of a saint. It could be broken through without the purple qi of Hongmeng. However, no one could say for sure whether this realm was real or fake. After all, no one had cultivated to this realm. But now, the Eastern Emperor Tai was about to step into the realm of primordial chaos Daluo Jinxian. This gave everyone hope for a breakthrough. In this world, the beginning was often the most difficult. But as long as someone took the lead, the rest would be much easier. When the first primordial chaos Daluo Jinxian appeared, the second, third, and fourth were not far away. Therefore, Tai's breakthrough not only involved the hearts of the demons, but also the hearts of all the powerful figures in the primordial world. They were all waiting for the Eastern Emperor Tai to break through so that they could confirm the path ahead. It could be said that even when the six saints achieved the Tao, there were not so many powerful figures paying attention. After all, the powerful figures did not have the purple qi of Hongmeng, so they could not gain any experience from the six saints' breakthrough. But the Eastern Emperor Tai was different. This was not only his path, but also the path of all the powerful figures. 100 years passed in a hurry. The Khanate Tao that gathered towards the sun star increased and became more and more condensed, as if it had turned into a substance. At this time, it was not an exaggeration to say that the sun star was the #1 holy land in the primordial world. Boom! A ray of light. The eternal light. It rose slowly from the sun star and illuminated the entire primordial world. Tai had achieved the Tao. The entire primordial world was shaking. The great Tao rumbled incessantly, and the laws trembled incessantly. Golden flowers fell from the sky, and golden lotuses surged out of the ground. In the sky, the aura of the heavenly Tao was faintly discernible. All kinds of strange phenomena appeared one after another. The birth of a saint was nothing more than this. No matter what, Tai was the first primordial chaos Daluo Jingxian of the primordial world. It was not an exaggeration to receive this honor. The next primordial chaos Daluo Jingxian did not receive this treatment. Dong 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 dong. The Eastern Emperor bell vibrated on its own, emitting 108 loud sounds that spread throughout the primordial world, as if singing the greatness of its master. After the bell rang, an inexplicable Tao sound rang out in the world. It was as if it was celebrating, but also as if it was welcoming the birth of a great existence. And the Eastern Emperor, accompanied by this array of Tao sound, his figure slowly appeared. It was a sun. Its entire body was dazzling golden, and it was so dazzling that people could not open their eyes. Chapter 481. Screech. With a cry that shook the primordial world, the sun changed. Tao and truth intertwined on his body, and countless Khanate Tao patterns appeared on his body. An ancient Tao rhythm spread out, and all concepts were distorted. At this moment he had achieved Tao. Dazzling golden light bloomed from the inside of the sun, so dazzling that people could not open their eyes. A bird's head gradually raised, looking proudly at the primordial world. Then, a huge pair of wings spread out, covering the sky and the sun, releasing the mystery of yin and yang. Finally, 3 huge claws stretched out, like pillars supporting the sky, symbolizing the 3 talents of heaven, earth, and man. This was a huge golden crow, as great as the Tao of heaven and earth, existing with the world. The golden crow was the sun, and also Tao. 1 head, 2 wings, 3 feet, symbolizing that Tao gave birth to 1, 1 gave birth to 2, 2 gave birth to 3, and 3 gave birth to all things. Dong Huang Tai had comprehended his original self and cultivated the primordial Daluo Jingxian. I am Tai. Today, I have comprehended my original self and attained Tao, the primordial Daluo Jingxian. I hereby announce to the primordial world. As his voice fell, Tai transformed back into the Khanate Tao body. The Khanate Tao slowly retreated, and the phenomenon of heaven and earth disappeared. The primordial world returned to peace. However, the impact of Tai's attainment of Tao did not disappear. The powerful beings withdrew their gazes from Tai and turned to look at the 6 saints. Now that Tai had attained Tao, the primordial Daluo Jingxian had the power of a saint. Although it was not the end of the era of the saints, there were already signs of it. They did not know if the saints could still sit still. Unfortunately, after watching for a while, the saints did not react. The various holy lands were calm, as if everything that had happened in the primordial world could not disturb their Tao hearts. The powerful beings were disappointed that they did not see Dong Huang fight the saints. However, soon, they became excited again and hurriedly looked at the witch race. The witch race was their mortal enemy. Now that Dong Huang had attained Tao, the witch race should be the most anxious. However, they were disappointed again. The witch race did not have any reaction. The witch race did not even show his face. They completely treated the matter of Dongawang's attainment of Tao as if it did not exist. Strange, it was really strange. It was fine that the saints did not move, but why did the witch race not react? The powerful beings were very confused. Of course, the Grand Sorcerer was anxious. However, at that moment, the gestation of the 13 Grand Sorcerers of the Sorcerer tribe had reached a critical moment. They could not do without humans. Therefore, unless the demon clan was willing to go to war with the Sorcerer tribe at all costs, the Grand Sorcerer tribe would definitely not appear. No matter how big the world was, it was not as big as nurturing the 13 ancestors of sorcery. In the imperial court of human Tao, Feng Zichen discovered that as Tai attained the Tao, Di Jun and the others who had been watching over him withdrew their gazes one by one. Chance. With a thought, Feng Zichen summoned the perfected golden immortals from the 5 Khanate tribes. He was now the focus of the demon race's attention, and there was no possibility of him escaping. However, the human race was not. This was an opportunity. Fellow Taoists, now that Tai has achieved the Tao, the human race is doomed. There's no need for you to stay here and die with the human race. Feng Zichen said in a deep voice as he looked at the incoming Daluo Jingxian. At this moment, it was indeed meaningless for them to stay in the human race. It was better for them to leave as soon as possible to save their lives. Taoist priests, you must be joking. The human race is in a life and death situation. As allies, how can we abandon the human race at this time? Of course, we also know that even if we stay, we won't be of much use. However, if we risk our lives, we can drag a few demon gods to die with us. We can weaken the demon race's strength and vent our anger for the human race. The 5 of them looked at each other, and the Water Dragon Lord stepped forward and said, from the moment they decided to come to the human race, they were already prepared to die. After all, they were facing the demon race, a demon race that was even stronger than the 3 races when they were at their peak. Everyone is so righteous. Looking at the empty space, Feng Zichen did not speak for a long time. He did not expect that the 5 of them would be willing to die for the human race. Although Daluo Jingxian was immortal, his tens of millions of years of bitter cultivation had all turned into flowing water. He needed to cultivate again. The price was not small. Fellow Taoist, you have made up your mind. I won't persuade you anymore. However, please let the elites of the 5 races leave. They are still young. They shouldn't die here. After a while, Feng Zichen said again, that's true. We will let them return to their races later. The 5 of them thought about it and agreed. After that, there was a moment of silence. Taoist priests, what else do you need to say? Seeing that Feng Zichen did not speak, the Water Dragon Lord took the initiative to ask. Everyone, I have a request, but I don't know how to say it. After a pause, Feng Zichen said, Taoist priests, just say it. If we can do it, we will do it. The 5 of them replied in unison. I would like to ask the elites of your races to take away a portion of the human race when you retreat and leave some fire for our race. This was the idea that Feng Zichen had just thought of. No matter how strong the demons were, they could not provoke the 5 Khanate races at the same time. Otherwise, the 5 sacred beasts would fight to the death and completely destroy the primordial world. No one would end well. Therefore, sending a portion of the human race to the 5 Khanate races could most likely protect their safety. Of course, there could not be too many of them, nor could they be too strong. Otherwise, the large-scale disappearance of the human race would definitely attract the attention of the demons. This matter is feasible. The 5 of them agreed without any hesitation. As allies, this was what they should do. As for the danger, they did not believe that the demons would rush over to attack the 5 Khanate races when the 5 Khanate sacred beasts appeared. The 5 elements sacred beasts were guarding the 4 poles. It was both a restraint and a threat. If they recklessly destroyed the 4 poles, the primordial world might be destroyed. Therefore, the mighty figures of the primordial world dared to threaten the 5 races, but no one dared to destroy them. Next, Feng Zichen secretly selected a group of humans and let the elites of the 5 races take them away. They were escorted away by the 5 Daluo Jingxian. This way, No one in the demon army dared to stop them. After that, Feng Zichen began to shrink the human race's forces and let the major tribes and clansmen enter the human Dao imperial court. After all, the human Dao imperial court was the supreme treasure of the human race. With the combined strength of the human race, Feng Zichen's plan, and the power of the chaos bead, it might be possible to fight for a chance of survival for the human race. However, this time, Feng Zichen's order, it did not have the effect that it should have. More than 80% of the human race did not follow Feng Zichen's order to rush to the human Dao imperial court. Instead, they fled to the primordial world. Even if Suiren came out to persuade them to stay, it was useless. Ever since the immortal dragon city was broken and the demons attacked the human territory, the humans and demons had been at a disadvantage in the battle. This caused some humans to be scared out of their wits by the demons. Now, Feng Zichen gathered all the strength of the human race in the human Dao imperial court. It was obvious that he wanted to fight the demons to the death. How could the terrified humans be willing to go? Naturally, they fled in panic. The human emperor has gone mad. He wants to fight the demons to the death. Isn't this hitting a rock with an egg? We're not leaving to run away. We're leaving a useful body for the future. The demons destroyed the human race because the human emperor angered the celestial emperor. Why should we bear the responsibility? These were the words that some people shouted as they fled. The weak would never understand the greatness of the strong. They thought that they could escape the demons' pursuit and survive if they left the human Dao imperial court. Little did they know that if they stayed, they still had a chance of survival. If they left, only death awaited them. Who is it? Who is scheming against the human race? In the human Dao imperial court, Feng Zichen felt a flame of fury burn in his heart. He wanted nothing more than to burn the person behind the scenes to ashes. It was normal for people to flee. Feng Zichen had expected this. Wasn't this the weakness of postnatal life forms? However, more than 80% of the human race had fled. If Feng Zichen still couldn't figure out the problem, he would really be a fool. Someone was definitely playing tricks in the dark. Someone was using divine arts to bewitch the humans and wear down their fighting spirit. This was why the humans fled on a large scale. Otherwise, why would so many humans flee? First, they had to send out the demons. If they had this ability, they would have used it long ago. They wouldn't have waited until today. Chapter 482. According to the principle that whoever benefited the most was the most suspicious, the mastermind should be one of the saints. After all, after the great Magi-Demon War ended, the two races declined one after another, and the saints became the true rulers of the primordial world. In particular, during the great Magi-Demon War, a few saints played an extremely dishonorable role and secretly pushed for the outbreak of the war. Therefore, it was very likely that the saints schemed against the human race to increase the strength of the demon race. Tai had achieved the Dao. On the surface, the demon clan was stronger than the wizard clan. But in reality, that was not the case at all. From the beginning to the end, the demon race was never stronger than the Magi race. The Dao of the Tai was just a helpless act by the heavenly Dao to maintain the balance between the Magi and the demon race. The difference in strength between the Magi and the demon race was too great. If the heavenly Dao did not let the Tai achieve the Dao, the demon race would definitely not be able to stop the Magi race. Defeat would be a matter of time. One had to know that the current Magi race was completely different from before. Their strength had undergone an earth-shattering change. The Magi who cultivated the Dao of God Fiends had made up for their flaws, developed their bloodline, and could even activate Dharma treasures. This caused the strength of the Magi race to at least double. That's twice the amount. Before the strength of the Magi race doubled, the demon race used all their strength and barely fought to a draw with the Magi race. Now that the strength of the Magi race had doubled, how could the demon race be a match for the Magi race? Moreover, the Magi race had a saint. That was Hoodoo. Hoodoo could leave the netherworld. However, after leaving the nether realm, he lost his almost invincible strength in the untainted land. He was just an ordinary saint. But an ordinary saint was still a saint. Could Huda watch the decisive battle between the Magi and the demon race? She would definitely make a move. Thanks to Feng Zichen, other than the saint, the Magi race also had a Khanate cardinal treasure. The Khanate cardinal treasure of the primordial world. How could the demon clan fight against such a powerful sorcerer tribe? Therefore, the demon race had to have the combat strength of a saint to contend against the Magi race. Otherwise, the situation in the primordial world would evolve from two powers fighting for hegemony to one race being dominant. This was something that the heavenly Tao did not allow. It was the justice of all living beings in the primordial world that the Magi and demons had declined and left the stage of the primordial world. It was also the will of the heavens that could not be defied. The heavenly Tao was based on this criterion. That was why it secretly increased the strength of the demon race and allowed the primordial chaos Daoyuo Jingxian to be born so that it would have the capital to contend against the Magi. It was under such circumstances that Tai was able to successfully attain his Tao. Otherwise, how could it be so simple to transcend the world? This was clearly the heavenly Tao going easy on him. Even so, the demon clan was still not as powerful as the sorcerer clan. However, the heavenly Tao would not increase the strength of the demons. Instead, it would think of a way to suppress the Magi. The heavenly Tao understood that going too far was as bad as falling short. If he raised the strength of the demon race too much, it would cause them to be unable to do anything in the future. That would be a joke. Among the 6 sages, the first to be eliminated is Her Highness Nuwa. Furthermore, with Grandmaster Tongtian's personality, he would not do such a thing. The heavenly lord of primordial beginnings' personality is incomparably arrogant. He probably wouldn't stoop so low as to use such underhanded methods. As for the Grand Pure One, he seems to be doing nothing, but he is actually doing everything. However, he became a saint in the human race. With this incense, he will not attack the human race. Then there are only the 2 sages of the Western sect. The 2 of them are good at playing with souls. They are also shameless enough to do such a thing. After analyzing it, Feng Zichen felt that the chances of the 2 sages of the Western sect doing this were very high. Firstly, the 2 of them were from the Western sect. The more chaotic the East was, the more beneficial it would be for them. The Magi and demons dominated the sky and earth. How could they have the chance to preach? Only when the 2 races fell would they have a chance. Secondly, in terms of the Tao of the heart, Feng Zichen had obtained extraordinary achievements because of the divine Tao of incense. There were not many people in the primordial world who could defeat him, and Zhuan-Ti was one of them. This time, panic spread among the humans. Before the incident, Feng Zichen did not notice it at all. This meant that the person who did it had higher achievements in the Tao of the heart than him. Then, the one who met the 2 conditions at the same time was Zhuan-Ti. It seems that the Western sect is still too quiet. I have to find some fun for you. Thinking of the humans who had escaped, Feng Zichen was really angry. He was determined to give the 2 sages of the Western sect retribution. With a thought, Feng Zichen's spiritual will had already reached the interior of the chaos bead. There was a quaint pond there, filled with a liquid that emitted a 7-colored light. It was the qi of 7 emotions and 6 desires that Feng Zichen had collected over the years. Because there was too much of it, it gradually gathered into liquid. At the bottom of the pool, there was a mirror that shone with Khanate Tao light and was filled with the aura of the mortal world. It was the supreme-grade Khanate spirit treasure, the mortal mirror. Doesn't the Western sect focus on cultivating the heart? Then I'll help you. After calming himself down, Feng Zichen pulled out his hatred for the 2 sages of the Western sect and injected it into the 7 emotions and 6 desires in front of him. When Feng Zichen's hatred entered the pool, the water in the pool seemed to be boiling and kept bubbling. Then, a lotus flower grew from the bottom of the pool, slowly growing into a bud that was filled with vitality. Good. From now on, you are the Western sect's tribulation. Looking at the bud, Feng Zichen said indifferently. This was a demon born from the 7 emotions and 6 desires, so it was also known as the inner demon. Whether it was the current Western sect or the Buddhist sects of the future, they all focused on cultivating the heart. The inner demon targeted the heart and could be said to be the natural enemy of Buddhism. This was the retribution that Feng Zichen had given to Xuanti. Do you want to prosper? Get past the inner demon first. Pumph. You asked for it. With a cold snort, Feng Zichen sent the inner demon pool out of the chaos bead and let it drift in the void. The appearance of the inner demon was a necessary part of the heavenly Tao. Therefore, Feng Zichen did not need to worry about the safety of the inner demon pool. The heavenly Tao would arrange everything. After doing all this, Feng Zichen left the chaos bead. How could a mere inner demon extinguish Feng Zichen's anger when the Western sect treated the human race like this? He had to think of a way to cut off the roots of the Western sect. At the very least, the Western sect could forget about preaching in the human race in the future. The human race was the protagonist of the world in the future. The Western sect could not preach in the human race. It did not seem like a big deal now, but in the future, it would be a big problem. Pass down the order. From now on, all mortals are not allowed to join the Western sect. After passing down the order, Feng Zichen waved his hand and sent it into the destiny of the human race, so that it would be passed down from generation to generation. It would not be forgotten by the human race because of his absence. Without the human race, the Western sect is still so prosperous. Chapter 483. Have you discovered it? But so what? The moment Feng Zichen gave the order, Taoist Xuanti immediately sensed it on Mount Meru in the distant western land. Regarding this, he only chuckled. So what if he discovered it? Could he still come to the West to cause trouble? Did he not allow the human race to join the Western sect? What a joke! Did he really think that the human race was a treasure? The human race was just a mere postnatal spirit. In the primordial world, other than Yuhua and Feng Zichen, who would take them seriously? Not worship the Western sect? But if he didn't, then so be it. He really thought that the Western sect was rare. No matter how bad the Western sect was, it was still the inheritance of a saint. Not any trash could enter. The human race really couldn't. In the primordial world's chain of contempt, the one standing at the top was undoubtedly the Khanate godfiends. And the one at the bottom was none other than the human race. At this moment, who would have thought that it was the last glory of the Khanate era? After the great Magi-Demon War, the once glorious Khanate era came to an end, and the primordial world entered the postnatal era. As the first postnatal race, the human race rose with the general trend and became the main character of the world. It was extremely glorious and resplendent. If Taoist Xuanti knew this, he would definitely not be indifferent to Feng Zichen's order. Unfortunately, he didn't know. The other saints didn't know either. In the primordial world, other than Feng Zichen, who came from the future, no one knew. So, no one would have thought that the human race, which was said to have the lowest status in the primordial world, would actually do something that the magi and demons could not do in the future and become the main character of the world. Fate was really unpredictable. Yes. What's going on? Are the demons finally going to attack the Ziwei star? As soon as he left the chaos bead, before Feng Zichen could do anything, a scene that made his hair stand on end appeared in his mind. It was the scene of him being killed by Tai. What was killed was not this human body, but his foundation, the Khanate true spirit hidden in the Ziwei star. On a whim. This was a scene from the future. Without a doubt, Donghuang Tai, who had cultivated the primordial Daluo Jingxian, was going to make a move on the North Star to make up for the flaws in the heavenly cycle star formation. Fortunately, the monster race's current main goal was to deal with Feng Zichen, not to attack North Star. Feng Zichen still had time to prepare. How troublesome. This time, Feng Zichen really felt that it was troublesome. As long as his innate true spirit was not destroyed, even if he was killed by Donghuang Tai, it would not affect him much. He could be revived anytime. But if the innate true spirit was killed by Tai, it would really fall into a deep slumber. This time, all of Feng Zichen's plans were disrupted. The Emperor Star was his greatest reliance. The reason why he dared to wander around in the untainted land was that his innate true spirit was hidden in the Ziwei star. No one could really kill him. Since he wouldn't die, of course he dared to act recklessly. But now his innate true spirit was under threat. Feng Zichen was really panicking. In fact, the solution to this matter was very simple. He just had to give up on the Ziwei star. He had so many aliases. The innate true spirit could just hide in one and continue to wander around. The North Star was very good. Basically, no one would go to a place like the Thunder Lake. It was very safe. However, if Feng Zichen left, he would have no fate with the Ziwei star. The innate Tao embryo born by the Ziwei star would be destroyed. The innate cardinal treasure Zhouxing map born in the boundless starry sky would have nothing to do with him. He would not be able to be the great emperor of Ziwei, who commanded the Zhouxing and the universe in the future. Moreover, the Tao of the stars was his foundation. If he retreated now, it would be difficult for him to attain the Tao in the future. Therefore, Feng Zichen could not retreat. Although this retreat would temporarily save his life, what he would lose was his entire future. Damn it! The monster race is forcing me to risk my life. Come on, who's afraid of who? Knowing that he had no way out, Feng Zichen made up his mind to fight the monster race to the death. One man against an entire race. Feng Zichen wanted to measure the level of the monster race with his own strength. It sounded a little crazy, but that was his plan. Let's do it. Since we're going to fight, let's fight all of them. Having made up his mind, Feng Zichen ordered. Pass down my order. Use the power of the human race to build a 9-level altar. I have great use for it. He wanted to build a 9-level altar and use the power of the human race to worship the Ziwei star to help him break through the seal of the monster race and return to the boundless starry sky. Since ancient times, the Ziwei star had been the symbol of the emperor. Any emperor would be protected by the Ziwei star. He would be immune to all spells and evil. Feng Zichen was the human emperor. He personally worshipped the Ziwei star as the human emperor. Even if he was not the master of the Ziwei star would sense it, not to mention that he was. His innate indestructible true spirit would attack from the inside, and his physical body would attack from the outside. Under the internal and external attacks, the seal set by Dijun would definitely be broken. In this way, things would be much simpler. Tai could use the power of the sun star to erupt with power comparable to a saint. Feng Zichen felt that he could also use the power of the Ziwei star. The Ziwei star was not weaker than the sun star. In fact, it was even stronger. After all, the Ziwei star was transformed from Pangu's ancestral aperture. The ancestral aperture was the most important place for a cultivator. The primordial spirit and true spirit lived there. Feng Zichen's plan was to turn passivity into initiative. In this way, there would not be so many restrictions on his actions. At the very least, he would not follow the rhythm of the monster race. When the monster race attacked the human race, I suddenly took out the Ziwei star. Who knows, I might be able to kill a quasi-saint of the monster race. Looking in the direction of the Ziwei star, Feng Zichen thought leisurely. Next, in addition to the daily training of the human race, there was also an additional mission, which was to sacrifice the Ziwei star. However, Feng Zichen did not use the power that the human race obtained from sacrificing the Ziwei star. Instead, he silently accumulated it. He planned to suddenly release it at the critical moment and give the monster race a ruthless blow. 800 years after the Eastern Emperor Tai attained the Tao, the monster race finally moved. Under the lead of Tai, Dijun, Kunpeng, and the others, 4,000 monster gods marched toward the human race. 4,000 monster gods had left the Sea of Stars. That scene was too shocking. It attracted the attention of most of the experts in the primordial world. At the border of the heaven realm, Xianxia, who had rushed back to the Magi tribe from the netherworld, took a deep breath and shouted as he looked at the demon clan that was rushing over in a mighty manner. Stop! So many monster gods have entered the primordial world. Are the monster race going to start a full-scale war with the witch race? Xianxia was indeed Xianxia. Even in the face of all the top experts of the monster race, He did not show the slightest bit of fear. He still stood firmly in front of them. Of course, Xianxia was not a fool. It was impossible for him to stop the monster race alone. Behind him, there were 4,000 grand magi of the witch race. Fight with the witch race? I really want to. But not now. Today, the monster race is here for the human race. It has nothing to do with the witch race. So, all of you back off, Dijun said coldly. Of course, he wanted to fight with the witch race. He wanted to even in his dreams, but not now. Because the monster race was not ready yet. After destroying the human race and refining the witch-killing sword, it would be the time for the monster race to fight with the witch race. Impossible. 4,000 monster gods have entered the primordial world. Not to mention the human race, it's enough to fight the witch race. If you want to enter the primordial world, it's impossible unless the witch race is wiped out. Hearing that, Xianxia did not give in. No matter what the monster race's purpose was, the 4,000 monster gods definitely could not be allowed to enter the primordial world. It was still the same sentence. 4,000 monster gods could not only fight the human race, but also the witch race. You're courting death. Dijun's face turned cold and he wanted to kill. If it was Dijiang who said that, he would tolerate it for the time being. But Xianxia was nothing. He had already taken a step back, but Xianxia still did not let him go. He was being shameless. Boom. As soon as Dijun finished speaking, the 4,000 grand magi behind Xianxia took a step forward and looked at Dijun solemnly. Although he did not say anything, his meaning was clear. If the monster race dared to attack Xianxia, the witch race would dare to fight to the death with the monster race. Could. Seeing that, Dijun was furious and was about to give the order to attack the witch race. Big brother, now is not the time to start a war with the witch race. Don't forget our purpose here. A little impatience will spoil great plans. At this moment, Dong Huang Tai walked out and secretly sent a voice transmission. With Dong Huang's advice, Dijun calmed down and stopped talking. Star gods, listen up. Follow us into the primordial world. Dijun did not say anything. Tai took a step forward and ordered. Immediately, 362 star gods, there was no Emperor Star, Sun Star, or Moon Star, stepped out. Is this okay? Looking at Xianxia, Tai asked. Xianxia hesitated for a moment and walked to the side. He actually wanted to say that it was not okay. But the ancestral magi were not here. With the current strength of the witch race, they were far from being able to contend with the demon race. The demon race had already taken a big step back. If the witch race did not give way, the demon race would fall out with them. Just like the demon race was not prepared to fight the witch race was not prepared to fight the demon race either. When the 13 ancestral magi appeared, it would be the best time for the witch race to attack. Indeed, with the current strength of the witch race, they could already defeat the demon race. However, they had to pay a huge price. If they had the 12 capital heaven divine wraith array, the price would be much smaller. It was about the future, so the ancestral magi had to be cautious. With a cold snort, Dijun led the star gods and walked towards the human race. Sighed. Wizard! This is all the witch race can do for you. Looking at Dijun and the others who were leaving, Xianxia could not help but sigh in his heart. The demon race had chosen the right time. If the ancestral magi were not in seclusion, they would not sit back and watch the demon race destroy the human race. Brothers, keep an eye on these demon gods. We must not let them take half a step into the primordial world. Looking at the demon gods in front of him, Xianxia said with a face full of anger. Blocking these 4,000 demon gods was the only thing the witch race could do for the human race. Sigh. In the East Sea, ancestral Gragon sighed and walked towards the human race. Back then, he had promised them to protect the human race. Then he could not go back on his word. Chapter 484. The moment the ancestral dragon moved, the other 4 sacred beasts also walked out of their temples and went to stop the demons. What happened in the past was over today. Back then, They were indebted to others and regained their freedom. Today, they were in trouble. How could they stand by and watch? In the chaos outside the sky. In Xianxia Heaven's palace of Empress Hua. Seeing Di Jun and the others walking towards the human race, Nuwa could no longer sit still. With a cold expression, she was about to set off for the human race. However, at that moment, a person walked over and blocked the exit of Xianxia Heaven. Fellow Taoist Nuwa, how have you been? It was Taoist Zhuan Ti from the Western sect. Fellow Taoist Zhuan Ti, what do you mean by this? Although she was furious, Nuwa suppressed her anger and tried her best to speak in a calm tone. Poor Wei is here because I have something to ask you, fellow Taoist Nuwa. Fellow Taoist, you also know that the Western sect is barren and there are few living beings. Therefore, Poor Wei has the idea of creating living beings so that I can add some life to the Western sect. To create life, you need to use the Tao of creation. Fellow Taoist Nuwa's achievements in the Tao of creation are unparalleled in the primordial world. Therefore, Poor Wei specially came to ask you for advice. Taoist Kundi cupped his fist and said with a sincere expression, Fellow Taoist Zhuan Ti, since you have such thoughts, Nuwa will naturally help you. However, Poor Wei still has something important to do. I can't delay it for a moment. I hope you can forgive me. In the future, when Nuwa is free, I will definitely go to Mount Meru to help. Seeing how sincere Taoist Zhuan Ti was, Nuwa could not figure out his intentions for coming. She could only suppress the anxiety in her heart and say softly, Fellow Taoist, you must be joking. No matter how big the matter is, it's not as important as the matter in the Western sect. The Western sect is still waiting for you to save it, fellow Taoist Nuwa. Taoist Kundi was unmoved by this and continued to speak earnestly. However, at this time, Nuwa's patience had run out. Taoist Kundi still refused to let them pass. Obviously, he was here to cause trouble. Damn it. Kundi, let me ask you. Are you going to step aside or not? Since he didn't even address her as fellow Taoist, Nuwa was clearly angry. No. The affairs of the human race are the will of the heavens. As a saint, don't you know that the will of the heavens cannot be disobeyed? At this point, Taoist Kundi stopped pretending and directly expressed his intention. He was here to stop Nuwa from saving the human race. You're courting death. In this regard, Nuwa did not argue with Taoist Kundi. Instead, she took out the red embroidered ball and threw it at him. Good timing. I have to go through this in the end. Seeing that, Taoist Zhuan Ti stood up to welcome him and waved the wonderful Seven Treasures tree in his hand. A battle between saints broke out abruptly in the chaos beyond the heavens. In the netherworld, where the 6 paths of reincarnation were. Hood aside and walked out of her reincarnation palace. However, she did not leave the netherworld. This was because at the exit of the netherworld, in front of the gate of hell, a Taoist with a withered face and a pitiful aura was standing there with a sorrowful expression. The sect master of the Western sect, Saint Jain. Fellow Taoist Jain, are you going to stop me? Looking at Taoist Jain, Hutu said indifferently. This is the will of the heavens. I have no choice but to come. Taoist Jain pressed his palms together and replied. Then, fellow Taoist, do you still remember that your Western land once owed me a favor? In the past, Hutu had used the power of Panga's heart to revive the ancestral vein of the Western land, causing the Western land to regain its vitality. As the master of the Western land, Zhuan Ti naturally had to bear this karma. After sighing, Taoist Jiayin's face became even more sorrowful, but he did not leave. Obviously, he did not intend to give in. In that case, fellow Taoist Jain, let's go to the outer space to fight. Another battle between saints unfolded in the outer space. Big brother. You go first. I'll go and meet a few fellow Taoists. Midway, Dong Huang Tai sensed the aura of the 5 sacred beasts and turned to Di Jun beside him. Go ahead. Di Jun nodded and replied. Obviously, he had also sensed the aura of the 5 sacred beasts. You've gone too far. Jain, Zhuan Ti, you will definitely pay the price for this in the future. Sensing what had happened in the chaos outside the sky, Feng Zichen was about to go crazy with anger. Zhuan Ti was forcing the human race into a dead end. From now on, no one from the human race is allowed to become a disciple of Zhuan Ti. If they violate it, they will be expelled from the human race. Feng Zichen made up his mind and completely cut off the relationship between the human race and the Western sect. Even if the Western sect changed its name in the future, as long as they were still the teachings of Zhuan Ti, no human would join them. Because those who joined them would no longer be humans. As soon as he finished speaking, the fate of the human race shook. The fire gathered again and completely recorded Feng Zichen's words. It would exist with the human race forever. Human race, clowns. Feng Zichen's words were naturally transmitted to Zhuan Ti's number 2 high school. However, they did not care about it at all. However, the two of them vaguely felt that they had lost something forever. However, before they could think further, they saw Nuwa's attack coming at them, forcing them to panic. Seeing this, the two of them quickly perked up and focused on fighting the enemy. Naturally, they let this matter go. In the depths of the void, Tai and the 5 elements sacred beasts faced each other across the void. Tai greets the 5 seniors. Tai said politely to the 5 elements sacred beasts. This greeting was not to respect their cultivation. The 5 sacred beasts might not be at a higher realm than Tai. Tai respected their contributions to the primordial world and their contributions to the path of cultivation. The innate inheritance stopped at Daluo Jingxian. The path after the golden immortal of the great overarching heaven was opened up by the ancient powerhouses. The descendants benefited from it. Naturally, they had to be respectful. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Looking at Tai, ancestral Graygon sighed. Although the 5 elements sacred beasts had the strength of a saint, that strength was not obtained from their own cultivation, but from the power of their rank. Tai was different. His strength was obtained from his own hard work. It was a strength that truly belonged to him. From this point of view, Tai's achievements were higher than theirs. Seniors, what can I do for you? After both sides greeted each other, Tai asked. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. The 5 sacred beasts came here to stop Tai from going to the human race. Sigh. The Zichen clan has done us a favor, but we can't sit by and watch them fall. He sighed. Ancestral Graygon said helplessly. If it weren't for Feng Zichen, the 5 of them wouldn't have interfered in this matter. How could the demon race be so easy to deal with? The 5 of them didn't come here with any hope of saving the human race. Their goal was very simple. They wanted to save Feng Zichen as much as possible. Chapter 485. In the eyes of the 5 elements sacred beasts, Feng Zichen's safety was obviously more important than the human race. Then there's nothing to talk about. Tai took out the Donghuang bell and was ready to attack. After the human race was destroyed, the demon race would not have peace as long as Feng Zichen was alive. Therefore, they could let the rest of the human race go, but not Feng Zichen. Feng Zichen cared too much about the human race, which became the reason why the demon race had to kill him. The more something was destroyed, the crazier the revenge would be. If Feng Zichen did not care so much about the human race, the demon race could let him go. It was not as easy to kill a great Tao master as one might imagine. After all, it was the great Taoist priest. Everyone, let's do it. Ancestral Dragon and the other 4 looked at each other and said to Tai together. Fellow Taoist, sorry. As soon as they finished speaking, the 5 sacred beasts rushed out and formed the Khanate 5-direction formation in the air, trapping Donghuang Tai. The Khanate 5-direction formation was the top Khanate formation in the primitive world, which was enough to be ranked in the top 10. If it was set up by the Khanate 5-direction flags, even a saint could be trapped for a while. Of course, if the 5 elements sacred beasts worked together to set up this formation, its power would not be weaker than that of the Khanate 5-direction formation. It might even be stronger. If the true bodies of the 5 elements sacred beasts had personally set up this formation, the might of this formation would be the strongest in the great desolate world. Not to mention Donghuang Tai, even Hongjun Dao ancestor would be trapped. Unfortunately, The 5 elements' sacred beast bodies were trapped in the 4 extremities and the primitive world. They would not come out unless there was a catastrophe. The ones who came here were only the divine path soul formation realm of the 5 elements' sacred beasts. Even after many years of training, their cultivation was only at the great circle of sage to be. They were far from being Donghuang Tai's match. Otherwise, why would the 5 elements' sacred beasts work together to deal with Donghuang Tai? They had no other choice. They also cared about their reputation. 5 seniors attacking a junior. It would be embarrassing if word got out. The Khanate 5-direction matrix is really powerful when used by the 5 seniors. If Tai didn't have the Donghuang bell, he probably wouldn't have been able to break it. Trapped in the formation, Donghuang Tai observed for a while and couldn't help but praise. The might of the innate 5 directions grand formation was almost on par with the grand formation of heavenly stars. Even if a saint were to fall into it, it would be extremely difficult for him to escape. It was only because Tai had the primordial treasure, the Donghuang bell. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to do anything about this formation. If Kundi fell into this formation, he would be caught in a blind spot. If he wanted to break the formation, he would have to pay a great price. At the same time, he was secretly rejoicing that the flags hadn't fallen into the hands of the sacred beasts of the 5 elements. Otherwise, even if he had a Khanate cardinal treasure in hand, he would not be able to break this formation. Dong, not wanting to waste any more time, Donghuang Tai rang the chaos bell. A massive sound wave swept out, shattering everything in its path. The cycle of the 5 elements was endless. To break the innate 5 directions grand formation, one needed to have a deep understanding of the innate 5 elements. At the very least, one had to be stronger than the sacred beasts of the 5 elements. Obviously, Donghuang Tai couldn't do this. Therefore, he chose another method, which was to break the formation with force. He used his powerful force to directly shatter the formation. Simple and violent. This method was effective against all the formations in the world. But it was very difficult. It had an extremely high requirement for the strength of the caster. One Tai was definitely not enough, but with the addition of the Donghuang bell, it was enough. Dong, 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 as the sound of the bell echoed, the innate 5 directions grand formation was broken and reformed and broken again. It was constantly on the verge of collapse, but it didn't completely shatter. Although Donghuang was strong, the sacred beasts of the 5 elements weren't to be trifled with. It wasn't difficult to trap him for 100 years. For a moment, the two sides were in a stalemate. What a good formation. It's really a good formation. It's a pity to leave such a formation in the human race. Outside the human Dao Imperial Court, Dijun looked at the chaos formation that protected the entire Imperial Court and said with a face full of amazement. As the owner of He Tu and Luo Shu, Dijun's achievements in formations were only slightly weaker than Fushi's. Naturally, he could see the power of the chaos formation. The moment he saw the chaos formation, he had already made a decision in his heart. After destroying the human race, he would definitely snatch this formation. With this formation, the demon's chances of winning in the battle between the liches and demons would be even higher. Set up the Heavenly Cycle Star formation. Under Dijun's order, the Heavenly Cycle Star God took out the Heavenly Cycle Star banner and drew in the Heavenly Cycle Star formation above the human Dao Imperial Court. In an instant, the human Dao Imperial Court was completely isolated from the outside world. Rumble. The stars in the sky turned into a huge constellation that enveloped the human Dao Imperial Court. Refine. The stars in the sky rotated, and a terrifying refining power attacked, wanting to refine the entire human Dao Imperial Court and the clansmen inside. This time, the demon's top combat strength was gathered. Naturally, there was no need for any strategy. They could just crush the humans with absolute strength. Boom! The chaos formation operated, and chaos chi surged, devouring all the refining power that surged over and turning it into their own power. However, the power of the monstrous beasts was much stronger than that of the human race. As time passed, the chaos formation gradually couldn't hold on any longer. At this moment, the heavenly cycle star formation hadn't reached its peak state yet. This was because Jun and Xiha hadn't entered the formation yet. If they attacked, the chaos formation probably wouldn't be able to hold on. While Jun was attacking the human tribe, the army of the demon tribe spread across the untainted land began to move. They were madly hunting down the fleeing humans. They had to plan for the worst. If they failed to attack the human Dao imperial court, the fleeing humans alone would be enough to refine the shaman-slaying sword. Rumble. Seeing that the heavenly cycle star formation still hadn't refined the human Dao imperial court, Jun was a little impatient. He entered the formation with Xiha and personally took charge of its operation. Immediately, the pressure on the chaos formation increased exponentially. The 9 human kings, Swerin, and the others who were maintaining the formation all spat out blood. Some low-level cultivators were even shaken into a bloody mist and lost their lives. Your Majesty, the formation can't hold on any longer. Let's remove the formation and fight the demons. Human King Dahong suppressed his injuries and shouted at Feng Zichen. They would die if they defended anyway. In that case, he might as well die with a bang and fight it out with the demon race. Hold on a little longer. I still have a backup plan. We might not lose. Feng Zichen comforted. Hold on a little longer. When the demons let down their guard, he would use the Ziwei star to give Jun a surprise. In front of Baiying Palace on Shouyang Mountain, Yong knelt outside the door and kowtowed continuously, begging his master, the leader of the saints, the Grand Pure One, to protect the humans. Master, I beg you to save the human race. Unfortunately, no matter how much Yong begged, the Grand Pure One was unmoved. He only agreed to protect the humans near Shouyang Mountain. The humans elsewhere had nothing to do with him. Seeing that he could not persuade his master, Yong did not stay any longer and turned to return to the human race. Idiot! Looking at Yong leaving, the Grand Pure One shook his head helplessly. His trip this time was probably not going to end well. However, the Grand Pure One did not leave Yong behind. It was good to die once. If he died for the human race once, it would be good to sever his relationship with the human race. From then on, he could pursue the Tao wholeheartedly. With the ability of a saint, it was not difficult to resurrect a Daoyuo Jingxian. Human Tao Imperial Court. The Heavenly Cycle Star Formation launched a few more attacks. The Chaos Formation was already in tatters and was on the verge of shattering. No one dares to fight me alone in such a huge demon race. Instead, they bully me with their numbers. From this, it can be seen. The demons are only so. Feng Zichen was angry and could not help but mock. Shut up. Who said that the demons have no one? Let the poor Wei experience the abilities of the great Taoist priests. As soon as Feng Zichen finished speaking, a burly middle-aged man from the monster race charged at the human Dao Imperial Court, wielding an enormous spiked club. Feng Zichen was a little confused. He was just angry and casually provoked the demons. He did not think that anyone would fall for it. He was just venting the anger in his heart. After all, this provocation was too clumsy. As long as it was a normal person, they would not fall for it. However, who would have thought that there would really be people who fell for the trap, and even rushed over directly? Who was so stupid? However, in the next moment, Feng Zichen knew who it was. Bear King, come back. Seeing that person rush out, Kun Peng hurriedly shouted. That person was the Earth Bear King, a peerless powerhouse at the peak of the quasi-saint realm, one of the trump cards of the demons. The Earth Bear King was the first bear of the primordial world. He was born a Khanate god-fiend and was extremely strong. Rumor had it that he could compete with the ancestral magi. After the Purple Cloud Palace's Tao lecture, the Bear King wanted to prove his strength and claim that he was #1 in the primordial world. He overestimated himself and wanted to shake Mount Buzhou. In the end, Mount Buzhou did not shake. Instead, he was severely injured by Mount Buzhou. It was also after this that the Earth Bear King completely disappeared from the primordial world. Everyone thought that this fellow felt that he had lost face and went into seclusion. They did not expect that he would side with the demons. If this person did such an unwise thing, it would be understandable. After all, this Earth Bear King's brain was a little abnormal. Nonsense. Which normal person would shake Mount Buzhou to compete in strength? Wasn't that courting death? You're courting death. When he saw the Earth Bear King charge over, Feng Zichen's eyes lit up, and he directly withdrew the human emperor's seal. It transformed into a huge seal and pressed down towards the Earth Bear King. Feng Zichen was just worrying about not being able to scheme against the demons when the Earth Bear King charged over. It was simply a heaven-sent opportunity. Open! When he saw the human emperor's seal pressing down, the Earth Bear King raised the mace in his hand and smashed it with the intention of sending it flying. Unfortunately, he failed. The human emperor's seal was a connate cardinal treasure, and it was of a higher grade than the mace in his hand. Feng Zichen's strength was also stronger than his. In this way, how could he not lose? Bang! The human emperor's seal directly smashed the Earth Bear King and the mace in his hand into the ground. Chapter 486. Chaos Formation Rise. At this moment, Feng Zichen didn't hold back anymore. He released the full power of the human emperor's seal, and the aura of a connate cardinal treasure swept out. The chaos formation that was on the verge of shattering started to operate again under the control of the human emperor's seal. Chaos chi surged out and drowned the Earth Bear King underground. For me. The Earth Bear King waved the mace in his hand and tried to break through the seal of the chaos formation. However, the human emperor's seal's power came over mightily and forcefully fixed him on the spot, unable to move. A perfection stage quasi-saint expert was suppressed by the human emperor's seal without any ability to resist. The power of a connate cardinal treasure was evident from this. That is, a connate cardinal treasure? How can a human have a connate cardinal treasure? The demons were unable to accept it when they sensed the human emperor's seal's aura. That's a connate cardinal treasure, a rare connate cardinal treasure in the primeval age. How can a human have such a treasure to protect him? Because they were too shocked, the demons didn't even react in time when the Earth Bear King was suppressed by Feng Zichen. While the demons were in a daze, the Earth Bear King was already beaten up badly by Feng Zichen. He held the connate cardinal treasure and smashed it on the Earth Bear King's head with all his might. Oh no! The Earth Bear King is in danger. Go and save him. They were all people with high cultivation realms after all, and they quickly reacted. When they saw the Earth Bear King's miserable appearance, they hurriedly activated the Heavenly Cycle Star Formation to break the Chaos Formation and save the Earth Bear King. Rumble! With the help of the human Emperor's seal, the Chaos Formation's power increased, but with the Earth Bear King's suppression, the other quasi-saints of the demon race also attacked, causing the Heavenly Cycle Star Formation's power to increase again. Soon, the Chaos Formation showed signs of being unable to hold on. Emperor Star. At this moment, Feng Zichen finally revealed his final trump card, the Emperor Star. Roar! A shocking dragon roar sounded. Dragon Chi rose in the human Dao Imperial Court, and along with the prayers of thousands of people, it shot into the 9 heavens and transmitted to the distant Emperor Star. In the Emperor Star, Feng Zichen calculated the timing and the prayers of the Emperor Star from the outside. They attacked Dijun's seal at the same time. Under the attacks from both inside and outside, the seal that Dijun had set up in the past shattered. Just like that, the Emperor's Star that had disappeared for countless years, the primeval age first, a flash of purple light lit up in the boundless starry heavens. Then the stars in the sky trembled and moved according to a specific trajectory, forming the mysterious phenomenon of a cluster of stars surrounding and protecting it. The Emperor, SS Stars Star, Emperors of S Emperor, Teat, of the stars of Jesus. It, S Cardinals of Heaven, as Heaven's Emperors to suppress Heaven's, purple, micro, star. Looking at the Z-Way star in the center of the starry sky, Emperor Jun called out its name word by word. He was extremely angry now. The moment the Emperor Star appeared, Zhouxing almost wanted to break away from his control and submit to the Emperor Star. If he wasn't the master of Zhouxing and had absolute control over the Zhouxing, The consequences would have been unimaginable. How could Dijun tolerate this? The Emperor's Star was the most likely divine object to shake his foundation in the primeval age. Therefore, the first thing Dijun did after becoming the master of Zhousing was to seal the Emperor's Star so that he would never be born. Unexpectedly, he broke the seal today, and with the help of his enemy, he broke the seal. Feng Zichen, what is your relationship with the Emperor's Star? At this time, Dijun's first thought was not how to seal the Emperor's Star, but the relationship between Feng Zichen and the Emperor's Star. Could Feng Zichen be the innate god-fiend born by the Emperor's Star? Otherwise, how could he get in touch with the Emperor's Star? In other words, the Emperor's Star had already given birth to an innate god-fiend, and Feng Zichen was his ally. Was it all for the sake of getting rid of him? All kinds of thoughts flashed through Dijun's mind, but he didn't show it on his face. His face was still calm. At this point, no matter what the relationship between Feng Zichen and the Emperor's Star was, it didn't matter. What was important was that he must die today. As long as he died, then no matter what plan he had, it couldn't be carried out. After that, as long as the Emperor's Star was resealed or refined, everything would be fine. With this thought in mind, Dijun used his authority as the Lord of the Cycle Star to drive Zhousing to strengthen the formation, causing the power of the Cycle Star formation to erupt. It could be said that the current Cycle Star formation was very close to its peak state. Even if a saint came, it could fight. Boom! Endless star power hung down from the Emperor's Star, passing through layers of void and pouring into the Emperor's seal. The power of the Emperor's Star was enormous. When it acted on the Emperor's seal, it was as if a saint had personally descended and activated his power with all his might. The Emperor's seal. The innate cardinal treasure, the Emperor's seal. At this moment, it was completely awakened. It was as if a perfect saint had walked out of the chaos and displayed his power to his heart's content. In essence, the innate cardinal treasure was the same as the primordial chaos Daluo Jingxian, or even stronger. Its power was fully awakened, and it was equivalent to a living saint. Boom! Under the power of the Emperor's seal, no, the chaos bead, the chaos aura surged, and space-time was turbulent. Everything seemed insignificant. Looking at the chaos bead that was fully activated, Feng Zichen was actually a little dissatisfied. Logically speaking, after the chaos bead exploded, the human Dao Imperial Court, as the cardinal treasure of the human Dao, should also explode. In that case, the combined power of the two cardinal treasures could directly wipe out the demon clan. Unfortunately, the incense offerings provided by the humans were still too little. The human Dao Imperial Court was still in its embryonic form, and its power was limited. It could not wipe out the demon clan. And if he wanted the human Dao Imperial Court to truly unleash the power of a cardinal treasure, he would probably have to wait until the humans became the main characters of the world and flourished in the primordial world. Damn it! Under the impact of the chaos bead, the demon gods were forced to retreat, and the heavenly cycle star formation even showed signs of collapse. Fortunately, Dijun reacted in time and hurriedly took out the He-Tu and Luo Shu to stabilize the formation. Screech. Dijun was shocked and furious that he couldn't take down the humans even after personally taking action. He couldn't help but reveal his true form and mobilize the power of the Sun Star with all his might to compete with the Emperor's Star. However, Dong Huang Tai wasn't here, and the demon race didn't have a cardinal treasure in hand. Facing the chaos bead that was fully activated, the demon race relied on their huge strength advantage to barely be able to fight to a draw. It was probably impossible to annihilate the humans. Refine. With the chaos bead, the safety of the human Dao Imperial Court was temporarily safe. Feng Zichen placed all his energy on refining the Earth Bear King. He had exposed so many trump cards before suppressing it, so he couldn't let it have an easy time. Feng Zichen planned to refine the Earth Bear King and then use its origin to create the Khanate Spirit Treasures. The Khanate Spirit Treasures that formed the Chaos Formation. If all 9 Khanate Spirit Treasures that formed the Chaos Formation were gathered, then the power of the Chaos Formation could truly be activated. In this way, the humans might be able to survive this calamity. With a wave of his sleeve, Feng Zichen threw the Earth Bear King into the cauldron of heaven and earth and started refining it with all his might. Bastard! How dare you! Outside the imperial court, Di Jun and the others were furious when they saw Feng Zichen's actions. Chapter 487. However, no matter how they attacked, they couldn't break through the Chaos Bead's defense. They could only watch as the Earth Bear King was constantly refined by Feng Zichen. Fortunately, the Earth Bear King was strong enough. Even with the help of the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth, it wasn't something that Feng Zichen could refine in a short time. The higher the cultivation level, the harder it was to kill. This was especially evident after the ascension of Grand Luo. Not to mention, Feng Zichen didn't want to kill the Earth Bear King. Instead, he wanted to refine it alive. This would take even longer. It would take at least 1,000 years. Therefore, as long as the demons were fast enough, they might be able to save the Earth Bear King. Your Majesty, I'm here to help you. At this moment, ripples suddenly appeared in the void. Yiang had used the Chaos Bead to cross the void and rush here. Fortunately, the Chaos Bead was a treasure of the Tao of time and space. Otherwise, Yiang wouldn't have been able to bypass the seal of the Heavenly Cycle Star Formation and enter the human Tao Imperial Court. Your Majesty, Yiang is useless. Yiang said with self-blame as she came in front of Feng Zichen. What? You didn't touch the Grand Pure One? This is normal. You don't have to blame yourself. The Grand Pure One doesn't do anything. He won't interfere in the affairs of the human race. Feng Zichen looked at Yiang helplessly. Feng Zichen was the one who asked Yiang to ask the Grand Pure One for help. Of course, he knew that Yiang couldn't ask the Grand Pure One. Feng Zichen's original intention was to use this as an excuse to send Yiang far away so that she wouldn't be involved in this great calamity and leave a glimmer of hope for the human race. As the disciple of the Grand Pure One, as long as Yiang didn't provoke the demons wouldn't provoke her either. After all, Di Jun had offended Nuwa, and at most, he had offended Fushi. However, if he offended the Grand Pure One, it would be incredible. The 3 Pure Ones were one. It wasn't a joke. Offending one was equivalent to offending 3 people. Even Di Jun had to consider the consequences of doing so. Therefore, Yiang was absolutely safe after leaving the human Tao Imperial Court with Saint Taiching's protection. But unexpectedly, he came back by himself. This was really... Feng Zichen was speechless. He couldn't possibly drive him away when he was so passionate about fighting for the human race, right? All right, you've come at the right time. I was just about to borrow your floating flame flag. Yiang came at the right time. Feng Zichen was complaining about the slow refining speed of the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth. Yiang hurriedly took out the floating flame flag and handed it to Feng Zichen. Boom! After receiving the floating flame flag, Feng Zichen shook it at the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth. Balls of Nanming Li fire flew out and burned towards the cauldron. With the help of the Nanming Li fire, the refining power of the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth greatly increased. The Earth Bear King inside finally couldn't help but howl in pain. Wisps of Khanate origin visible to the naked eye floated out of the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth and fused into a broken Khanate spirit treasure. Khanate's 6 Harmony Bell. It was a supreme-grade Khanate spirit treasure derived from the Khanate 6 Harmony Tao. Feng Zichen had obtained it from the primordial battlefield. However, the Khanate 6 Harmony Bell had suffered a destructive attack in the primordial war and was shattered into pieces. Its grade had dropped greatly, and it barely maintained its status as a middle-grade Khanate spirit treasure. The Khanate spirit treasures that formed the Chaos Array had to be at least superior grade. The current Khanate 6 Harmony Bell was obviously not qualified. Therefore, Feng Zichen used the Earth Bear King's Khanate origin to repair the Khanate 6 Harmony Bell. He didn't expect it to be restored to the level of a supreme-grade Khanate spirit treasure. At the very least, it had to be restored to the level of superior grade to meet the minimum requirement of forming the Chaos Array. In the outside world, the demons who saw this scene attacked even more crazily. Unfortunately, it was still useless. During this period, Di Jun even intercepted the star power of the North Star in an attempt to weaken the power of the Chaos Bead. However, Feng Zichen's true spirit was guarding the North Star, so how could he let Di Jun succeed so easily? After a few exchanges, Di Jun not only failed to cut off the star power, but he also suffered a small loss. Only then did he stop. However, in his heart, he was basically certain that a Khanate god fiend had been born on the North Star. Otherwise, the North Star alone would definitely not be able to dodge his attack. If the North Star had this ability, why would it be sealed by him back then? One had to know that back then, it was far from being as powerful as it was now. After killing Feng Zichen, I have to make a trip to the North Star no matter what to prevent future trouble. In his heart, Di Jun secretly made up his mind. As for whether he could kill Feng Zichen or not, that was definitely possible. Although the demons were at a disadvantage now, once Dong Huang returned, the situation would instantly reverse. Di Jun was anxious now because he felt that it was a little embarrassing. After all, the great divine abilities of the primordial world were all paying attention to this battle. He was unable to take down the human race for a long time, so it would inevitably damage his dignity. Good boy. This human race is really amazing. So far, there are already 4,000 grand shamans, 2 saints, and 5 sacred beasts who have taken action for him. There is also an unknown Khanate cardinal treasure that has appeared. This backer is really powerful. It is also because the ancestral shaman is in seclusion and the 2 saints who received Zhuan-Ti to take action. Otherwise, the demons really wouldn't have been able to take down the humans. The battle between the humans and demons had really opened the eyes of the great divine abilities of the primordial world. They had thought that the humans would definitely be destroyed when the demons attacked. Who knew that the situation would be reversed again and again? The demons were almost defeated by the humans. First, a great battle broke out between the saints. Then, the 5-element sacred beasts who had been in seclusion for many years personally took action to stop Dong Huang. Then, the humans suddenly activated an unfamiliar Khanate cardinal treasure. They had thought that this was exciting enough. They did not expect that there would be something even more exciting. The Emperor Star, the Lord of the Stars who had disappeared for many years, suddenly reappeared and helped the great Taoist priests deal with the demons. They almost defeated the demons. This was really too exciting. The great divine abilities of the primordial world felt that this was the first time they had seen such an exciting thing after living for so long. He used the Emperor's aura to shake the Emperor Star. The great Taoist priest's method is really wonderful. I'm afraid that even Di Jun did not expect that someone would use this method to break the seal he set up. Some people were just watching the show, while others were analyzing the methods used by both sides. The Emperor's aura was the product of the combination of the Emperor Star's power and the power of the People Dao. It was the most domineering. Feng Zichen was able to break Di Jun's seal because of it. Not only that, but looking at the few exchanges between the Emperor Star and Di Jun, I'm afraid that someone is secretly controlling it. That's why he can fight Di Jun so well and even have the upper hand. If this person hiding in the dark is an innate saint born by the Emperor Star, then it's fine. But if he's the great Taoist priests, then it's a little scary. He has endured for so many years. His goal must be not small. Someone secretly speculated. Oh no. If Feng Zichen is really the incarnation of the Emperor Star in the human world, then why would he fight to the death with the demons for a mere human? Obviously, he is a native of the human race, so he can't let go of the human race. As for why the Emperor Star is helping him, that's very simple. The 2 of them have a common enemy, Di Jun. Isn't it normal to join forces? In the void, some powerful figures were communicating with their divine thoughts, discussing the relationship between Feng Zichen and the Emperor Star. Innate god fiends were not bound by race. Feng Zichen chose to fight to the death for the human race, which became the main basis for everyone to deny that he was the Emperor Star. They thought that he had formed an alliance with the Emperor Star. No matter how hard everyone thought, they would never have thought that Feng Zichen, who was just a postnatal life form, could go against the prenatal heavens and occupy the Emperor Star to become an innate saint. Strange. How could the Emperor Star give birth to an innate saint? In the Purple Cloud Palace, Dao ancestor Hongjun was very confused. The Emperor's Star was the former residence of the heavenly Dao, formed by Pangu's ancestral aperture and divine court. It was because of this that the Emperor's Star should not be able to give birth to an innate saint. After all, the innate saint that it gave birth to was too noble. It came from the same source as the heavenly Dao and was Pangu's direct descendant. It could be said to be the natural lord of heaven and earth. How could the heavenly Dao allow such a person to exist? Therefore, the Emperor's Star was destined to be unable to give birth to life. But now an accident happened. Life was really born on the Emperor's Star. Moreover, judging from its strength, it had been born for a long time. This was troublesome. The Emperor's Star Lord was too extraordinary. Even Dao ancestor Hongjun could not calculate his identity. He did not know how he was born. It was also because of this that Hongjun did not discover the relationship between the Emperor's Star Lord and Feng Zichen. After all, he could not calculate the relationship between the two of them. So, the life born of the Emperor's Star is really too noble. It's a natural celestial emperor. If it was born a few years earlier, the heavenly court would not have anything to do with Dijun. Dao ancestor Hongjun was very worried. It was fine if the living beings born of the Emperor's Star did not have intelligence. However, once they were born with intelligence, they would have Zhouxing's luck. They would never die, nor would they be willing to be ordinary. The primordial world. It was getting more and more difficult to understand. Dao ancestor Hongjun was at a loss. Ever since the Lady of Earth turned into reincarnation, the primordial world had completely changed. Even if he was the number one person in the primordial world, he could not see the direction of the primordial world clearly. Let's wait and see. Big Brother seems to be in trouble. Even though the Khanate Five Directions formation isolated everything, Tai Yi could still vaguely sense the anxiety in Dijun's heart through the perception between the brothers. I have to break the formation as soon as possible. The longer it dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for the demons. If the ancestral shaman suddenly came out of seclusion, the demons would be in danger. Bell of Chaos. After thinking this through, Tai Yi mobilized all the mana in his body and activated the Eastern Emperor Bell with all his might. Immediately, the images of the worshipping of the demons and Zhouxing on the bell wall began to slowly recede and turned into the color of chaos again. Bell of Chaos. When Pangu opened the sky, the bell of chaos that was used to suppress the earth, fire, water, and wind had finally reappeared in the world. Previously, the Eastern Emperor Tai Yi's cultivation level was unable to completely activate the power of the bell of chaos. Therefore, he turned the bell of chaos into the Eastern Emperor Bell in order to maximize the power of the bell of chaos. And now, Tai Yi had achieved the Dao and cultivated the primordial chaos Daluo Jingxian. The power of the Khanate Cardinal Treasure could be perfectly released in his hands. Therefore, the Bell of Chaos removed its disguise and revealed its true appearance. Chapter 488. Boom. A terrifying aura emanated from the Bell of Chaos, suppressing the earth, fire, water, wind, and boundless space-time. The operation of the Khanate Five-Direction formation suddenly stagnated and was frozen for a moment. It was at this moment that Tai Yi seized the opportunity and exploded. He continuously rang the Bell of Chaos, shattering the endless vacuum and breaking the Khanate Five-Direction formation. The formation was broken, and the Khanate Five Elements sacred beast suffered a backlash. It could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood and fly backward. 5 seniors, your true bodies are not here. You can't stop me with just your incarnations. In that case, do you still want to fight? Standing in the void, Tai Yi looked at the 5 Elements sacred beast who was vomiting blood and said indifferently. He had defeated an ancient overlord in his first battle. Even with Tai Yi's state of mind, he could not help but feel a little excited. This was back then. An existence that he had to look up to. Dominating the primordial world began from here. However, Tai Yi's excitement did not last long before it was interrupted by the Emperor's Star in the sky. That's the Emperor's Star. How did he come out? Looking at the Emperor's Star in the sky, Tai frowned deeply. The birth of the Emperor Star was not a good omen for the demon race. This meant that the position of Celestial Emperor was in danger of changing hands. The younger generation is indeed worthy. However, how can I not return the favor after receiving kindness from others? While Tai was puzzled, the 5 elements sacred beast moved again. A raging fire suddenly ignited on Ancestral Gragon's body, burning the void into nothingness. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Ancestral Gragon's aura began to surge crazily, faintly showing signs of reaching the primordial chaos Tao realm. Unfortunately, that boundary was too difficult to cross. In the end, Ancestral Gragon's strength stopped at the half-step primordial chaos Tao realm. This incarnation is still too weak. With everything I have, I can barely enter the half-step primordial chaos Tao realm. Ancestral Gragon said helplessly as he experienced the changes in his body. He burned his incarnation. He wanted to reach the primordial chaos Tao realm. However, the foundation of this incarnation was still too weak. It was far from being able to do that. Brother, don't worry. Let us lend you a hand. Seeing Ancestral Gragon's actions, the other 4 sacred beasts also made a decision. They ignited their own origins and turned into a huge power that poured into Ancestral Gragon's body. Amidst the dragon's roar, the strength of the Ancestral Dragon's incarnation took another step forward and entered the primordial chaos Tao realm. It was no less than the presence of his true self. Is it worth it? Seeing this, even Tai was shocked. He did not understand what kind of favor could make the 5-element sacred beasts help Feng Zichen at all costs. What they had to give up was freedom, which was the most important thing to them. Of course, Tai did not know that something like a divine Tao avatar could be formed at any time as long as there was an endless supply of incense and willpower. Thus, the 5 elements divine beasts didn't care whether the divine Tao was destroyed or not, because it wasn't important. The only thing that was a pity was the innate origin contained in the immortal Tao incarnation. It wasn't that easy to cultivate the divine Tao incarnation to the great circle of the quasi-saint realm. The next incarnation that was formed would not be as powerful. After stepping into the realm of primordial chaos, the body of the Ancestral Dragon incarnation underwent an astonishing change. A purple intent permeated his body, dyeing the azure dragon scales purple. The purple color of the great Tao. Accompanied by a dragon roar that shook the primordial world, a purple-gold 9-clawed true dragon slowly appeared in front of Tai. Ancestral Dragon. The Ancestral Dragon that once dominated the primordial world had returned. An extremely domineering aura swept out and swept across the entire primordial world. All the creatures in the world reacted spontaneously and bowed to the Ancestral Dragon. All the beasts bowed to the canopy. The first Lord of Heaven and Earth, the Azure Dragon. Roar, dragon roars sounded one after another. All living things in the world that were related to dragons were trembling as their bloodlines began to transforming into true dragons. Again, looking at Tai, the Ancestral Dragon was full of fighting spirit. It had been a long time. It had been too long since he had fought. Boom. The Ancestral Dragon flicked his tail and opened a passage to the chaos beyond the heavens. He walked in. The primordial world was the battlefield of low-level cultivators. Daluo's battlefield was in the depths of the void. Primordial chaos Daluo Jinxian's battlefield was in the chaos beyond the heavens. Only there could withstand the aftermath of their battle. The overlord of the previous era. I'm really looking forward to it. Ha! Amidst his loud laughter, Tai stepped into the chaos beyond the heavens. A great battle broke out. Of course, Tai also had his own pride. The Ancestral Dragon fought him bare-handed, so he would not take advantage of the Ancestral Dragon. Therefore, he did not use the Bell of Chaos in this battle. Go! With a wave of Tai's hand, he sent the Bell of Chaos to Dijun. At this time, 1/3 of the Earth Bear King's Khanate origin had been refined by Feng Zichen. The Khanate 6 Harmonies Bell had also been restored to the ranks of a superior-grade Khanate spirit treasure. The power of the Chaos formation instantly increased, and the speed of refining the Earth Bear King also greatly increased. With this help, the seventh Khanate spirit treasure that formed the Chaos Formation, the seven luminaries' divine picture, gradually became corporeal. Everything was moving in a good direction. It seemed. The balance of victory was also tilting towards the human race. However, with the arrival of the Bell of Chaos, everything changed. The good situation was instantly reversed, and the human race was once again at a disadvantage. Quick, activate the Bell of Chaos with all your might. Jun's reaction was extremely fast. When he saw the Bell of Chaos flying over, he directly combined the power of the Heavenly Cycle Star Formation and activated the Bell of Chaos with all his might. Dong dong dong, the Bell of Chaos vibrated slightly, suppressing the earth, fire, water and wind. The mighty power of the major Kiliacosm space appeared and forced the Chaos bead back. The Bell of Chaos was one of the three great heaven-opening treasures. It contained 49 Khanate divine restrictions and was a top-grade Khanate merit cardinal treasure. As for the Chaos bead, although its quality was extremely high, it was only a middle-grade Khanate cardinal treasure and only had 47 Khanate divine restrictions. In terms of power, it was far from being able to contend with it. Naturally, it was difficult for it to withstand the power of the Bell of Chaos. Quick! Feeling the pressure, Feng Zichen and the others began to fight with all their might. They activated the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth with all their might and strived to refine the Earth Bear King in the shortest time possible. Boom! Within the Chaos Formation, the aura that belonged to the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth slowly rose. It supported a corner of the sky and worked together with the Chaos bead to resist the Bell of Chaos. The Chaos Formation's collapse immediately slowed down. The two Khanate cardinal treasures worked together to barely resist the Bell of Chaos. However, the power required to maintain the two Khanate cardinal treasures was too enormous. With the strength of Feng Zichen and the others, they probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long. And when their strength was exhausted, the human race would also reach the end. Everyone! I'm afraid the human race won't be able to hold on this time. Later, I'll detonate the Chaos Formation and fight the demons to the death. Seize the opportunity and quickly escape to Xianxia Heaven. At this point, Feng Zichen could be said to have used all his trump cards and was at his wit's end. Chapter 489. You have to agree to this even if you don't want to. There are still some clansmen in the ancestral land. They still need your protection. If we all die, the human race will have no hope. So, you have to survive. Although no one answered, Feng Zichen knew that they were going to refuse when he saw their expressions. But this time, for the sake of the human race, they couldn't refuse. In the primordial world, it was very difficult for a race without the protection of Daluo Jingxian to survive. Not to mention, it was the human race that offended the demon race. Alright, everyone had firm Dao hearts. Seeing that Feng Zichen had made it so clear, they didn't hesitate and directly nodded in agreement. At this moment, no one said anything stupid about fighting to the death with the demon race for Feng Zichen. It was important to know one's own limits. With their cultivation, they would probably be killed by the demon race as soon as they rushed out of the Chaos Formation. Only Feng Zichen could resist the demon race's attack for a moment and buy time for them to escape. We can leave, but this bear must die. After working so hard for so long, they would naturally be unwilling to leave without leaving anything for the demon race. Therefore, they decided to refine the Earth Bear King to death at all costs before they left. Even if the demon race was powerful, the death of a perfected quasi-saint was enough for them to feel the pain. Alright, refine this bear to death. After making a decision, everyone began to shrink the Chaos Formation to save energy. And this saved energy was used to refine the Earth Bear King. Not long after, this unlucky Bear King's aura declined to the extreme, and it would die at any time. 100 years passed in a hurry. Under the attack of the Chaos Bell, the power of the Chaos Bead and the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth continued to weaken. The Chaos Formation was also on the verge of collapse. Even the human Dao Imperial Court was in tatters and no longer as majestic as before. The human race was about to reach its end. Fortunately, the Earth Bear King was finally refined to death. The high-grade Khanate cardinal treasure, the 7 planets divine painting, was also born. The chaos formation was perfected again. It was because of this that the chaos formation was not completely broken. In the chaos beyond the heavens, the battle between the ancestral dragon and Donghuang Tai had come to an end. Although the ancestral dragon was strong, he was not here in person. Moreover, his current strength was obtained by burning his incarnation. It could not last long at all. The war lasted for 100 years. The ancestral dragon's power was almost depleted. Senior's strength is indeed powerful. If I wasn't restrained by my incarnation, the outcome of today's battle would still be uncertain. Tai's victory today was a little unfair. How I wish I could fight Senior's true body. Tai said regretfully as he watched the ancestral dragon's body gradually fade away. He had benefited a lot from the battle with the ancestral dragon. After becoming the primordial chaos Daluo Jinxian, he had reached the end of his path and could no longer see the future. After this battle, he could vaguely see the road ahead. This was truly a great fortune. Unfortunately, this was a one-off battle. Wouldn't Tai feel regret? The Tao ancestors' preaching stopped at the saint's end. Tao ancestor Hong Jun did not talk about the Tao after the sage. It was not that he did not tell them, but he did not tell them. He only told it to his 6 disciples. Disciples and sect members were different after all. I'm old. I'm not as good as you young people. Fighting Tai made ancestral Gragon feel like he was getting old. Young people nowadays were too fierce. Tai, I have been comprehending the Tao in the easternmost land for many years and have comprehended a supreme divine ability. Do you want to see it? Seeing that he could not hold on any longer, the ancestral dragon said in a deep voice. Senior, please enlighten me. Tai bowed and said seriously. To be able to make the ancestral dragon so cautious, the power of the divine ability was definitely astonishing. Watch carefully. This divine ability of mine. It's called dragon. After saying that, the ancestral dragon's body completely disappeared. Boom. The moment the ancestral dragon disappeared, a terrifying power erupted and swept toward Tai in a mighty manner. What was a dragon? A dragon had the strength to uproot mountains and rivers and overturn rivers and seas. A dragon was constantly striving for self-improvement and bravely advancing. A dragon was full of morals and educating the people. A dragon was full of literary talent and was passed down through the ages. A dragon was full of passion and righteousness. A dragon was full of courage and faced death with equanimity. A dragon was full of mercy and compassion. A dragon was full of mercy and compassion. A dragon was full of vengeance. A dragon was full of vengeance. A dragon was full of modesty and respect. A dragon was full of gentleness. A dragon was full of wisdom. A dragon was full of calmness and elegance. A dragon was full of iron bones. A dragon was full of might and unyielding. These were the strength of a dragon. Together, they were the ancestral dragon's supreme divine ability, dragon. No, this was no longer a divine ability. It was the Tao. The Tao of the dragon. Danger. Facing the ancestral dragon's attack, Tai felt danger for the first time in a long time. Screech. Without hesitation, Tai revealed his true form and turned into a huge golden crow. He was as dazzling as the sun and faced the mighty incoming attack. Dragon. Rumble. A terrifying power erupted. The void was shattering. Blood splattered out and dyed the sky red. Tai was injured. The invincible Tai was injured. Cough cough. Is this a dragon? Strong enough. When everything calmed down, Tai's figure walked out of the void. However, he was not in a very good state. His face was extremely pale and bloodless. He even coughed up blood from time to time. Obviously, he was injured. And it was the most serious Tao injury. The ancestral dragon used his own Tao of the dragon to leave a Tao injury on Tai that pointed directly to the origin. Although with Tai's strength, he could recover after cultivating in seclusion for a period of time. But in a short period of time, it could affect his strength. I'm really curious about the relationship between the ancestral dragon and Feng Zichen. At this time, he still hasn't weakened my strength. Before the ancestral dragon disappeared, he didn't forget to seriously injure him. Obviously, it was for Feng Zichen. How could this not make Tai curious about the relationship between the two? After adjusting his breath for a while, Tai walked towards Di Jun. Tai is coming. Feng Zichen sensed the disappearance of the ancestral dragon at the first moment. Naturally, he understood what had happened. Therefore, he said to everyone, "Everyone, it's time to go. If we don't leave now, we won't be able to leave when Tai comes." Feng Zichen, who had faced a saint, naturally understood the terror of that realm. That was the power to distort concepts. It was almost unparalleled. "Husband." At this moment, Chang Yi walked over. "My wife, you came at the right time. You and Emperor Sui should go to Empress Wa's palace together." Seeing Chang Yi walk over, Feng Zichen said, "If one had to say who was the most innocent in this great calamity, it would be Chang Yi. Ever since she married Feng Zichen and became the empress of the human race, before she could enjoy her happiness, the situation of the human race had taken a turn for the worse, and there was endless trouble. It could be said that they were extremely unlucky. Therefore, this time, Feng Zichen did not let Chang Yi preside over the chaos array. Instead, he let her calm the people at the back and protect those clansmen. Now, the human experts were about to leave. Of course, they had to take Chang Yi with them. Who would have thought that after hearing Feng Zichen's words, Chang Yi would shake her head? The human race loves and respects me. How can I abandon them at the critical moment? Let me do my part for the human race." As she spoke, strands of silver light suddenly bloomed from Chang Yi's body, forming a bright moon behind her. Her aura also changed drastically at this moment. That was Wang Shu's aura. Chang Yi had awakened. As soon as she saw Shi He, Wang Shu had slowly woken up. However, perhaps it was because she had been together with Feng Zichen, or perhaps it was the love and respect of the human race that made her have feelings. In short, she did not leave. Instead, she pretended that nothing had happened and continued to stay. But now, the human race was about to be exterminated. She finally could not help but make a move. The sudden change made Feng Zichen somewhat at a loss. Wang Shu woke up? But why didn't she leave? All kinds of doubts echoed in Feng Zichen's mind, but he was destined to not get an answer. Because Wang Shu did not have time to leave him now. "In the name of the moon god, I order the lunar star to bless me." An ancient Dao seal appeared between Wang Shu's eyebrows, and it connected with the lunar star in the boundless starry sky. Immediately, the lunar star shook. Then, under the incredulous gazes of the demon gods, the lunar star extracted the power of the stars from the heavenly cycle star formation and transferred it to Wang Shu. Boom, moonlight fell, mixed with the innate lunar origin, and fused into Wang Shu's body. This also caused her strength to continue to increase. In the blink of an eye, she broke through Daoyuo Jingxian and became a supreme. Not a quasi-saint, but the supreme Daoyuo. A supreme. The strongest among the Taoist priests. This was the name of the realm above Daoyuo by the primitive creatures in the ancient times. A quasi-saint was a realm that followed the path of the predecessors. Utmost exalted. That was the title of an expert that had walked their own path. The two were fundamentally different. Wang Shu was a supreme. Although she was only at the early stage, she was at the peak of the ancient times. If she had not died accidentally, she would have been at least a half-step primordial chaos existence. Boom. With the blessing of the lunar star, Wang Shu's cultivation was still increasing. Soon, she surpassed her realm in her previous life and became a mid-stage supreme. Between life and death, there was great fortune. After experiencing life and death, Wang Shu's realm naturally increased. Damn it. Seeing that the lunar star was out of her control, Shi was shocked and angry. Wang Shu had fallen for so many years. As soon as he was resurrected, he took control of the lunar star from her. Didn't this mean that from the beginning to the end, she had never truly controlled the lunar star? We are both moon gods. How can I be inferior to you? In a flash, she came to the core of the lunar star and used her methods to compete with Wang Shu for control of the lunar star. Affected by this, the moonlight hanging down from the lunar star suddenly decreased by a lot. You have to survive. Wang Shu turned her head and looked at Feng Zichen reluctantly. Then, she flew toward the lunar star without looking back. She wanted to completely take control of the lunar star. Only in this way could she break the heavenly cycle star formation and solve the crisis of the human race. Without the heavenly cycle star formation, the strength of the demon race would drop by at least half. It would not be so easy to deal with the human race. Chang Ying, looking at Wang Shu who was flying away, Feng Zichen subconsciously reached out to grab her. Unfortunately, he did not catch anything. Is this why Chang Yi flew to the moon? Looking at his empty hands, Feng Zichen was a little absent-minded. In his previous life, Chang Yi flew to the moon because of the elixir of immortality. In this life, Chang Yi flew to the moon to seek a chance of survival for the human race. Stop her! A loud roar woke up the absent-minded Feng Zichen. It was the demon race who saw Wang Shu heading to the lunar star and stopped her. Chapter 490. However, the lunar star had brought Wang Shu here personally. How could it let him be hurt by an outsider? A beam of moonlight flowed down, and the attack on Wang Shu was silently destroyed. Then, Wang Shu followed the moonlight and flew toward the lunar star. As Wang Shu got closer and closer to the lunar star, he became stronger and stronger. Before long, he reached the late-stage supreme stage. After being dead for countless years, Wang Shu broke through 2 realms and entered the realm of great divines. He could compete with late-stage sage to be cultivators. Your Majesty, will Her Majesty be in danger? The human elder Dongyun looked at the lunar star and asked Feng Zichen worriedly. He was the one who picked Chang Yi up and raised her. Therefore, he was the one who was most worried about Wang Shu's safety. No! Xiha is no match for Chang. Feng Zichen was very assured about Wang Shu's safety. Although Xiha was a great perfection sage to be, her innate origin was greatly damaged because she gave birth to 10 golden crows. Her strength was never at its peak. When she was recuperating in seclusion, she was shocked to hear that the 9 golden crows had died. This caused her innate origin, which had recovered a little, to be further damaged. With all these factors, Xiha's strength was only slightly stronger than a late-stage sage-to-be cultivator. Wang Shu's realm was already at the late-stage supreme stage. He might not be weaker than Xiha. Moreover, he had easily taken control of the lunar star from Xiha's hands. He must have left something on the lunar star. It was good enough that Xiha could protect herself. Damn it! Seeing that he couldn't hurt Wang Shu, Di Jun vented all his anger on the humans below. He kept shaking the bell of chaos, trying to kill them all. However, the shift of the lunar star caused the power of the heavenly cycle star formation to decrease. The power of the bell of chaos was also affected, and it wasn't as powerful as before. Even so, many low-level humans were turned into blood mist by the bell of chaos. Only some cultivators above the Tai-Jinxian realm barely survived. Let's go! Let's go! It'll be too late if we don't. Suddenly, Feng Zichen shouted anxiously. He should have been happy that the massive heavenly cycle star formation was damaged. But now, he was not happy at all. Because there was a great fear spreading in his heart. Tai was coming. No need. This place is too far away from Jinxiu heaven. We won't be able to escape. Let us make our final contribution to the human race. Swearin and the others shook their heads and rejected Feng Zichen. This was because a majestic god had suddenly appeared beside Di Jun. That was Tai. Even if he had never seen this person before, when he saw him, he naturally knew his identity. Boom! The bodies of Swearin and the other 2 ignited with golden flames. It was flint fire, the fire of civilization, the fire of humanity. The human race depends on you. In the flames, the figures of Swearin and the other 2 gradually became blurry. Emperor Sui. Feng Zichen knew what Swearin was doing, But he could not stop him, nor did he have the strength to stop him. They were sacrificing themselves. They were sacrificing themselves to the human race in exchange for a huge amount of power. This power was not used to deal with the demon race, but to nurture the innate spirit treasure. The 8th high-grade innate spirit treasure, the innate 8 trigrams diagram, was needed for the chaos array. The 3 perfected golden immortals sacrificed themselves in exchange for a great power from the human Tao in the unseen world. An indescribable light was born from the void and merged with the shadow of the innate 8 trigrams diagram. In the next moment, the innate 8 trigrams diagram turned from illusion to reality and was completely born. The power of the human race was so great. As the power of the human race descended, the figures of Swerin and the other 2 completely disappeared. Even their innate indestructible true spirits were not left behind. Fortunately, Swerin's group of 3 had already attained the golden immortal Tao fruit of being undying and indestructible. Even if they died, they would not die completely. Even if their innate true spirits were destroyed, they could be resurrected. It was just that it would take a long time. If there was no opportunity, it would take at least a few eons. 3 emperors rest in peace. Feng Zichen forcefully suppressed the sadness in his heart and activated the chaos array to protect the remaining humans. Human Emperor, since we are allies, let us do our last bit for the human race. As if inspired by the 3 emperors, the Water Dragon, Dragon Sovereign, and the other 3 Daluo Jingxian from the 5 innate clans also began to sacrifice themselves. What they wanted to sacrifice was the Tao of the 5 elements. The 5 innate clans represented the innate 5 elements. The cycle of the 5 elements was the beginning of creation. As the 5 disappeared, a milky white light was born on the spot. It was sacred and had the power to create everything. It was the holy light of creation. Whoosh! The holy light of creation brushed past, and the shadow of the high-grade innate spirit treasure that represented the Tao of the innate 10 directions instantly turned from illusion to reality and was born into the world. In this way, except for the high-grade innate spirit treasure that represented the Tao of the innate 9 palaces, all the innate spirit treasures needed for the chaos array were gathered. The price was that the human race lost 8 Daluo Jingxian. Rumble. The innate spirit treasures returned to their positions, and the chaos array immediately changed. The shadows of innate god fiends appeared one after another, commanding the chaos and extraordinary. Its power had completely overshadowed the massive heavenly cycle star formation. Your Majesty, Eong is going too. With a thought, Eong also took the initiative to sacrifice himself. However, with his strength alone, he could not produce a high-grade innate spirit treasure. On the side, the 9 kings looked at everyone's actions and also had the thought of sacrificing himself. But immediately, they gave up. The others were Daluo Jingxian, who could produce innate spirit treasures by sacrificing themselves, but they were not. With the support of the human race's fate, although they could unleash the power of Daluo Jingxian, they were still half-step Daluo Jingxian. Sacrificing oneself was useless. In the end, after Eang's sacrifice, the innate spirit treasure that represented the Tao of the innate 9 palaces was also born, but it barely reached the mid-grade. It was better than nothing. With the birth of the innate 9 palaces diagram, the chaos array's power increased again. The aura of the great Tao spread, and it vaguely felt perfect. But it was still a little short. That was because the innate 9 palaces diagram had not become a high-grade innate spirit treasure. However, Eong did not die after the innate 9 palaces diagram was born. Because at the critical moment, the floating flame flag suddenly flew up, wrapped the last bit of Eang's innate undying true spirit, and flew to the 8 Visions Palace on Mount Shouyang. Seeing this, the monsters did not stop them. They still had to give face to the Grand Pure Saint. 9 kings, listen up. Activate the chaos array with all your might. Suppressing all his thoughts, Feng Zichen ordered coldly. With the chaos array, the human Tao imperial court was stable. Chapter 491. Yes. The 9 kings received the order and went to their respective Khanate spirit treasures, activating them with all their might to maintain the operation of the chaos formation. Roar. In the formation, the Khanate Godfiend's shadow became clearer and clearer, as if it was about to cross the river of time and completely manifest in the world. Clang! Donghuang Tai flicked his finger and rang the bell of chaos. Terrifying sound waves swept out, creating layers of ripples as they blasted towards the human Dao Imperial Court. However, the chaos formation that was on the verge of completion was abnormally strong. No matter what kind of attack hit it, it would be devoured by the chaos and become nutrients for its growth. Not bad. Tai wasn't very surprised that he couldn't break the chaos formation. Anything that was related to chaos was not simple. It would be a problem if it was easily broken by him. The human race is incredible. If you have enough time, you will definitely become a great threat to the demons. At this time, even Tai had to admit that the trump card revealed by the humans was enough to shock him. Fortunately, the demons had discovered it early and eliminated the strong enemy in advance. Otherwise, in the future, the humans might be able to dominate the primordial world and threaten the demons' position. That's why the humans can't be left alive. With that, Tai summoned the Bell of Chaos and was about to enter the formation personally to break the humans' last trump card. Rumble. Coincidentally, at this moment, the moon shook and actually pulled itself out of the heavenly cycle star formation. Xianxia had been defeated, and the lunar star master had been replaced by Wuxia. Even if Xianxia had been defeated, it shouldn't have been so fast. However, the first thing Wuxia did after returning to the lunar star wasn't to fight with Xianxia for control of the lunar star, but to save the Khanate lunar osmanthus tree. In this way, if the two worked together, Xianxia would be defeated. Damn it. Seeing this, Dijun was worried about Xianxia's safety and wanted to go to the lunar star to help. However, it was a critical time to attack the humans. How could he leave so easily? For a moment, Dijun was in a dilemma. Big brother, I'm here. Don't worry. The lunar star is the key to setting up the heavenly cycle star formation. You can't lose it. So, big brother, it's more important to help sister-in-law. Seeing Dijun's dilemma, Tai took the initiative to speak. Without the lunar star, would the cosmic cycle star formation still be the cosmic cycle star formation? How could they fight against the shaman tribe then? Therefore, the human race could survive, but the lunar star had to be taken back. Second brother, I'll leave this place to you. Big brother is going. With that, Dijun transformed into his original form and flew toward the lunar star. In his heart, he had already decided to kill Wuxia. No matter what, Wuxia had to die. After all, as long as he was alive, the demons would not be at peace. If he were to attack the demons during the final battle between the liches and demons, would that demon still be alive? However, this thought did not last long before Dijun changed his mind. This was because, on the way to the lunar star, terrifying gazes came from the depths of the endless void and stared at him. None of the owners of those gazes were lower than half-step primordial chaos. These were the supreme beings of the primordial era. Dijun knew that the purpose of these ancient and terrifying experts' sudden appearance was to warn him not to kill Wuxia. In the primordial era, there were no sectarian differences, nor were there any major disputes. Everyone was seeking the Tao and often gathered to discuss the Tao. Their relationship could be said to be very close. In addition, everyone had a common enemy, so they naturally formed an extraordinary friendship. In the past, it was fine if Wuxia did not revive. But now, Wuxia had broken through the tribulation and returned. How could these ancient supreme beings watch their former comrade die again? Therefore, if Dijun dared to kill someone, they would definitely stop him. Dijun was also afraid of this, so he changed his decision. Dijun was not afraid of 1 or 2 of them, but 3, 4, 5, 6. Dijun was a little flustered. Moreover, the heavenly Tao also allowed Wuxia to die. One had to know that Wuxia had died to protect the primordial world. The heavenly Tao also had to owe him a favor. Now that Wuxia had returned, how could the heavenly Tao not protect him? Fellow Taoist Wuxia, please stop. After arriving at the lunar star, Di Jun did not attack Wang Shu after saving Shihe. Fellow Taoist, I can give you the lunar star. In the next battle to exterminate the humans, the demon clan can also not use the heavenly cycle star formation. In fact, I can even not make a move. After pondering for a moment, Di Jun said, "What are the conditions?" Wang Shu asked expressionlessly. Di Jun had made such a big concession, so it was impossible that there were no conditions. During this tribulation, you are not allowed to leave the lunar star, nor are you allowed to help the witch clan. If the demon clan uses the lunar star, you can't stop us. Di Jun stated his conditions. He wanted to imprison Wang Shu on the lunar star. As for giving the lunar star to Wang Shu, wouldn't that be a joke? The lunar star was now in Wang Shu's hands. Moreover, he was not allowed to help the witch clan. When the demon clan used the lunar star, he was not allowed to stop them. What was the difference between this and the lunar star still in the hands of the demon clan? Just this tribulation? Wang Shu thought for a moment and said, Di Jun nodded. If the demon clan won this tribulation, the lunar star could be taken back at any time. If the demon clan lost, the lunar star would not be able to be held. Okay. But I want to add a condition. The other quasi-saints of the demon clan are not allowed to attack the human clan. After a moment of silence, Wang Shu put forward his conditions. But Di Jun could not do it himself. If even Tai could not destroy the human clan, then the other quasi-saints of the demon clan would not be able to do it either. That's good. He was bound to be weak. Although Wang Shu was unwilling, he still nodded and agreed. He knew that if he did not agree to Di Jun's conditions, then Di Jun would definitely expel him from the lunar star at all costs. In this way, he would not be able to get anything. It was better to agree to Di Jun's conditions and fight for a chance of survival for the human clan. After the two of them finished speaking, the heavenly Tao immediately reacted. The sound of Tao rumbled between heaven and earth as a witness. Both of them were existences at the peak of the primordial world. Their every word and action was witnessed by heaven and earth. If they violated it, they would be killed by the heavenly Tao. Therefore, there was no need to make a Tao oath to restrain each other like in the future. The only standard to measure the primordial world's top array is whether it has the power to fight against a saint. Now, let me see if the chaos array of the human clan can be called a top array. After dismissing the heavenly cycle demon gods and the demon clan quasi-saints, Tai walked into the chaos array alone. He wanted to test the quality of the chaos array. In the array, phantoms of innate god fiends stepped through the air and charged toward Tai. Small matter. Tai shook the bell of chaos gently. An invisible sound wave spread out and shattered the phantoms of the innate god fiends. Then, the bell of chaos flew out of Tai's hand and clanged in the air. A mighty force that could suppress everything emanated from his body and froze the chaos array. The bell of chaos was a supreme treasure that Pangu used to shatter the chaos and suppress the earth, fire, water, and wind when he opened the skies. It had a certain restraining effect on the chaos. It was the most suitable to deal with the chaos array. If that's all, it's not worthy of being called a top array of the primordial world. Tai smiled as he looked at the chaos array that had stopped operating. The greatness of the chaos is not something we can hope to achieve. In the chaos, heaven and earth are one. Before all things were born, it was vast and boundless. There are endless changes contained within, and all the mysteries of the great Tao are contained within. His power is endless. Since Taoist Tai wants to see, then let's test the power of the chaos array. At the center of the chaos array, where the chaos bead was, Feng Zichen absorbed all the power of the Emperor Star and unleashed the ultimate power of the chaos array. Boom! The chaos array began to shrink, turning into a huge Tao fetus. The phantoms of the innate god fiends also changed, turning into connate runes that fell into the Tao fetus. Finally, the chaos bead and the 9 connate spirit treasures merged into the Tao fetus. Bang! As the Tao fetus broke into pieces, a magnificent force burst out of it. This power, Why is it so great? In front of this power, even Tai felt insignificant. Because this was the power of the Great Tao. At the end of the chaos array was an incarnation of the Great Tao. Rumble. An extremely illusory shadow appeared from the Tao fetus. It was so illusory that it was almost invisible to the naked eye. But even so, the moment it appeared, heaven and earth still shook. It was too great and too perfect. Seeing it, the world finally knew what perfection was. True perfection. It was not absolute perfection, nor was it the most perfect, but it was perfect without any flaws. Unfortunately, before Tai could see its appearance clearly, this extremely illusory shadow shattered. The chaos array set up by Feng Zichen was not the real chaos array after all, but a weakened version. How could it condense an incarnation of the Great Tao? The light shadow shattered and began to condense again. This time, it succeeded. A purple shadow stood in the chaos array. Its body was enveloped by purple gas, but one could vaguely see that it was a humanoid creature, which meant that it had a connate Taoism aptitude. Moreover, its body also emitted a sense of perfection, but it was not as perfect as the previous light shadow. It seemed to have some kind of flaw. The aura emitted from its body was cold and vast, giving Tai a very familiar feeling, just like the heavenly Tao. No, it was clearly the heavenly Tao. This was the incarnation of the heavenly Tao. Heavenly Tao? Tai was very familiar with the aura of the heavenly Tao. This was the limit of the chaos array, primeval version, condensing an incarnation of the heavenly Tao. As for the realm, it was, of course, the realm of chaos. However, because the connate 9-palace diagram that formed the chaos array had not advanced to the ranks of superior-grade connate spirit treasures, the chaos array had a flaw. Chapter 492. Because of this flaw, the incarnation of the heavenly Tao, which was supposed to be the most perfect existence in the primordial world, had a flaw. He only had 9 fingers, not the 10 fingers that the connate Taoism aptitude should have. This caused him to have a weakness. Hiss, what kind of array formation is this? It can actually summon the incarnation of the heavenly Tao? At this moment, not to mention the demons, even the powerful beings who were watching the battle in the void were deeply shocked. There were countless array formations in the primordial world, but they had never heard of any array formation that could summon the incarnation of the heavenly Tao. The chaos array of the human race was the first one. Just this point alone was enough to make the chaos array of the primordial world's top array formation comparable to the other 3 top arrays. From now on, the 3 great arrays of the primordial world will probably become the 4 great arrays of the primordial world. Looking at the incarnation of the heavenly Tao, the group of powerful beings sighed. Regardless of whether the human race won or lost this battle, the chaos array would definitely be famous in the primordial world. The 12 divine wraith array of the witch race, the heavenly cycle star array of the demon race, and the immortal slaying sword array of the prime clear Saint Tongtian had always been recognized as the strongest array formation in the primordial world. However, from now on, the chaos array would be added to these 3 great arrays, and they would be called the 4 great arrays of the primordial world. The incarnation of the heavenly Tao was the manifestation of the will of heaven, representing the heavens. Fighting with it was defying the heavens. In the primordial world, the heavenly Tao was above everything. How could the world defy it? Feng Zichen stepped forward, merged with the incarnation of the heavenly way, and scolded Tai. He shouted at Tai, "Tai, are you going to defy the heavens?" The sound of the Tao rumbled and resounded throughout the world. It was as if the heavenly Tao was speaking, shaking the heavens and intimidating all living beings, creating boundless phenomena. Defy the heavens? I have already attained the Tao, the primordial chaos Daluo Jingxian. I am the Tao, the heavens. What do you mean by defying the heavens? After the initial shock, Tai calmed down and looked at the incarnation of the heavenly Tao, full of fighting spirit. The heavenly Tao was very powerful. But the incarnation of the heavenly Tao? He was barely at the level of a chaos zenith heaven golden immortal. his strength was still slightly lacking compared to him. So, why would Tai Yi be afraid? Furthermore, there were not many opportunities to fight with the heavenly Tao. He could verify his Tao. Fighting against the heavens was a source of endless joy. Tai Yi really wanted to test the gap between himself and the heavenly Tao. There was no shame in losing. If he won, it would be a supreme glory. Kill. With this thought in mind, Tai Yi moved and rushed towards the heavenly Tao's incarnation. And it was a killing move right from the start. The chaos bell suppressed everything, and the divine light of the sun destroyed everything. It rushed towards Feng Zichen in a grandiose manner. Good timing. Feng Zichen first took out the cauldron of heaven and earth and smashed it towards the bell of chaos. Then, he formed a seal with both hands and abruptly blasted forward. A huge furnace materialized, shrouded in will of the way, and devoured the divine light of the sun. That was the heavenly Tao furnace. This supreme divine ability was unleashed by the incarnation of the heavenly Tao. It contained the purest power of the heavenly Tao. All the Khanate runes were replaced by heavenly Tao runes. It could be said that this was a heavenly Tao mystique. Boom! The cauldron of heaven and earth was no match for the power of the bell of chaos and was sent flying back. Feng Zichen reached out to catch it, but he was forced back a few steps before he caught it. It's not my treasure after all. There are many inconveniences in using it. In the end, the cauldron of heaven and earth was Nuwa's Dharma treasure. It was only lent to Feng Zichen for temporary use. He could not fully unleash the power of the cauldron of heaven and earth. After steadying himself, without waiting for Tai Yi to attack, Feng Zichen's heart stirred. The power of the Khanate yin-yang 5 elements circulated in his body as he took the initiative to attack Tai Yi. Swoosh, a 7-colored light appeared, melting everything as it swept towards Tai Yi. This was a supreme divine ability, Khanate yin-yang 5 elements divine light. The yin-yang 5 elements contained everything in the primordial world. In other words, everything in the primordial world would be restrained by the Khanate yin-yang 5 elements divine light. If he wanted to break this divine ability, he could only break it with force. Screech! Tai Yi shook his body and turned into a huge golden crow. He flapped his wings, and a dazzling golden light burst out. It was like a heavenly knife slashing down, splitting the Khanate yin-yang 5 elements divine light. Then, Tai Yi flapped his wings again and directly came to Feng Zichen's side, fighting him in close combat. The two sides fought for several days. In the end, Dong Huang defeated Feng Zichen with the power of the Bell of Chaos. Huff! After forcing Tai Yi away, Feng Zichen panted heavily. There was still a flaw in the chaos formation. Otherwise, why would the incarnation of the heavenly path be defeated by Tai Yi? Even if Tai Yi had the Bell of Chaos, it was the same. If only the 9 kings had the cultivation of a sage-to-be. Feng Zichen sighed regretfully while guarding against Tai Yi. The chaos formation was not perfect. Not only was the level of the Khanate 9 palaces not high enough, but it was also limited by the cultivation of the 9 kings of the human race. One had to know that a cultivator with a superior grade Khanate spiritual treasure would at least be a sage-to-be. Therefore, to perfectly unleash the power of the chaos formation, a mere 9 Daluo Jingxian were not enough. They had to have 9 sage-to-be. If the human race had 9 sage-to-be, Feng Zichen could rely on the chaos formation to run amok in the untainted world. Even if he could not surpass the shamans and demons, he could still become a force second only to the saints. What a pity! Tai Yi said regretfully after adjusting his breath for a moment. With his cultivation, how could he not see that the chaos formation had a fatal flaw? It was this flaw that caused the strength of the incarnation of the heavenly path to be far inferior to him. This also made Tai Yi feel a little regretful and a little fortunate. Unfortunately, he could not personally test the strength of the incarnation of the heavenly path. Fortunately, if the incarnation of the heavenly path had completely descended, even if the demons could win this attack, they would have suffered great losses. Fellow Taoist, it's time for you to go. Looking at Feng Zichen, Tai Yi said indifferently. This battle of the demons had already taken a long time. It was time to end it. Fellow Taoist Tai Yi, I admit that you are very strong. But if you want to break the chaos formation, I'm afraid you alone are not enough. Sensing Tai Yi's killing intent, Feng Zichen smiled indifferently. He was not afraid. He could not defeat him, but he could defend. As long as he could delay until the shaman ancestor came out of seclusion, the crisis of the human race would be resolved in an instant. Next, it would be a protracted battle. Feng Zichen stretched out his right hand and shouted softly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Suddenly the great Tao appeared. All the divine swords in the untainted world were trembling. Wisps of sword light flew out and gathered in Feng Zichen's hand, forming a colorless longsword. Path Sword, the sword of the Khanate Sword Tao. A sword formed completely from the Khanate Sword Tao was incomparably pure. With the sword in hand, Feng Zichen's aura also changed. An incomparably sharp aura rose from his body and rushed into the clouds. He held the sword horizontally in front of his chest. Feng Zichen stared at Donghuang Tai silently. He was accumulating strength. If the enemy does not move, I will not move. If the enemy moves, I will return the favor with a thunderous blow. Tai could only smile at this. Then, he turned into a rainbow light and crashed into the bell of chaos at an unimaginable speed. Clang. An unprecedented bell sound was emitted from the bell of chaos. The bell wave swept out and destroyed everything. Feng Zichen raised his sword to meet it. However, in just a breath, the path sword was shattered into pieces. Feng Zichen's expression changed slightly. First, he took out the cauldron of heaven and earth to block in front of him. Then he used supreme magic and blasted it forward. The greatest defense was offense. As long as he shattered the opponent's attack, no one could hurt him. The bell wave swept over, and the cauldron of heaven and earth was instantly sent flying. The magic that Feng Zichen used was also shattered one by one. Puff! A terrifying power erupted, shattering the chaos. Feng Zichen was also shaken to the point of vomiting blood. Fortunately, after being weakened layer by layer, there was not much power left in the bell of chaos. Feng Zichen looked miserable, but in fact, he was not too injured. The chaos bead was not destroyed, and the chaos array was not damaged. After Feng Zichen stabilized his body, with a thought, the damaged chaos array was immediately restored. Clang, clang, clang. Tai continued to ring the bell of chaos. It was as if he was going to repeat the scene of Pangu splitting the sky. Wherever the bell sound passed, chaos was destroyed. However, Feng Zichen secretly mobilized the power of the world tree. This also caused Feng Zichen to seem like he was about to collapse every time. But after a moment, he was alive and kicking again. Although the world tree had not grown to the level of the primordial chaos Tao realm, it was infinitely close. Moreover, as a chaos spirit root, it had infinite possibilities. It could allow it to display some of the characteristics of the primordial chaos Tao realm in advance. It was with the support of the world tree that Feng Zichen could withstand the attacks of Donghuang Tai again and again. Just like that, another 100 years passed. Why hasn't it broken yet? After 100 years, the chaos array still showed no signs of breaking. Even Tai could not help but feel a little anxious. Fellow Taoist, it seems that you have a lot of treasures on you, Tai said as he put away the bell of chaos. Logically speaking, he should have broken the chaos array long ago. However, no matter how he attacked, the array would not break. Obviously, Feng Zichen had other treasures on him. Fellow Taoist Tai, do you still want to fight? After recovering from his injuries again, Feng Zichen said. Now, they were waiting for the ancestral shaman to come out of seclusion or for the battle of the saints to end. Then, the crisis of the human race would be over. Boom! As the two of them spoke, a violent fluctuation suddenly came from the direction of the shaman tribe. An ancestral shaman aura that was different from the other ancestral shamans rose slowly, shocking the entire primordial world. The 13th ancestral shaman of the shaman tribe was born. Not good. Tai's expression changed when he saw this. With the birth of the 13th ancestral shaman, the shaman tribe's plan had been completed. It would not be long before the ancestral shaman came out of seclusion. At that time, they would definitely not tolerate him staying in the primordial world. This human race could not fight anymore. Had to leave as soon as possible. After all, the humans and demons needed to refine the Wu slaughtering sword were almost all captured by the demon race. But he left just like that. Tai was also a little unwilling. Feng Zichen's strength was too strong. The power of the Chaos Array was even stronger. If he let Feng Zichen go today with his hatred for the demon race, he would definitely help the shaman tribe during the decisive battle between the shaman and the demon race. This would bring unknown variables to the decisive battle between the shaman tribe and the demon race. Chapter 493. Fellow Taoist Tai Yi, the ancestral which is about to come out of seclusion. If you don't leave now, you won't be able to leave. Sensing the changes in the witch clan, Feng Zichen said to Tai Yi excitedly. At this time, he could finally heave a sigh of relief. God knew. During this period, how much pressure he had endured. The world tree was extraordinary. Its strength also had a limit. It had helped Feng Zichen survive for 100 years under Tai Yi's attack, and it was almost at its limit. If the ancestral which did not come out of seclusion, he might not be able to hold on. At that time, Feng Zichen would only face the outcome of being killed by Donghuang Tai. Fellow Taoist Zichen, if you don't die, I won't be at ease. Looking at Feng Zichen, Tai did not hide his true thoughts. He wanted Feng Zichen to die. If Feng Zichen did not die, he would definitely become a great threat to the demon clan. Therefore, this person could not be left alive. I know. But you can't kill me. Feng Zichen was very clear about Tai Yi's thoughts. The demon clan's goal had long been achieved. The humans needed to refine the witch-killing sword were more than enough for 80% of the humans who had escaped from the human territory. The reason why they were unwilling to leave was to kill Feng Zichen. After all, an expert like Feng Zichen, once they offended him, it was better to die. I can't kill you now. This was what Tai Yi was helpless about. If he could kill Feng Zichen, he would have died long ago in the past 100 years. He wouldn't have lived until the ancestral which came out of seclusion. Kill you, I can't do it. But I can seal you. With a thought, Tai Yi had an idea. What he was worried about was that Feng Zichen would help the witch clan during the final battle between the liches and demons, bringing unknown variables to the battle. Wouldn't it be fine if he didn't have the chance to attack? Once Feng Zichen was completely sealed, he would be able to solve everything perfectly. As for after that, it would be much simpler. After the Great Lich Demon War ended, if the demon clan won, Feng Zichen would be a fish on the chopping board, at the mercy of the demon clan. If the demon clan lost, how could the witch clan to let the demon clan? Even if Feng Zichen's to break out of the seal, he would not be able to find the demon clan to take revenge. Had a plan. Was to do demon god. And seal to Tai Yi knew that with his strength, even if he could seal Feng Zichen, he could not seal him for too long. Only by combining the power of the demon gods of the demon clan could they completely seal Feng Zichen. What a pity! Emperor Jun had promised Wang Shu that the demonic saints would not participate in this war. To the B. Titi to the seal? Hearing this, Feng Zichen's expression became strange. If he didn't have so many aliases, sealing him would be the best way to deal with him. But he had so many aliases. Sealing him was of no use at all. At most, he could seal his human body. It was not useless. Feng Zichen was fine, but the many clansmen who followed him were not. Apart from the clansmen in the ancestral land and those who had been captured by the demon clan, the rest of the humans were all behind Feng Zichen. Even Zichen's grotto heaven was in the human Dao imperial court. Since Tai had achieved the Dao, Feng Zichen did not dare to let Zichen's grotto heaven float in the void. He had put it in the human Dao imperial court as soon as possible. The Khanate star tree, which was only at the quasi-saint level, could not stop the calculation of Tai, who was at the primordial chaos level. It was safer to put it under his nose. At present, the humans who were still in the primordial world had been divided into 3 groups by Feng Zichen. The first group was the cultivators who had not become immortals. Feng Zichen had left them in the ancestral land of the humans and was protected by Nuwa. The second group was the prodigies of the human race. Feng Zichen had hidden them in Zichen's grotto heaven. The third group was the Tai Jingxian of the human race. They followed Feng Zichen to guard the human Dao imperial court. The rest were either killed or captured by the demon clan. These people accounted for the most. They were more than half of the human race. Sigh. I'm afraid I can't avoid this seal. After thinking for a while, Feng Zichen could not think of a way to escape. Tai's strength was too strong. These clansmen and him would not be able to escape the fate of being sealed. However, this was not necessarily a bad thing. Behind Feng Zichen were the elites of the human race. It could be said that the remaining strength of the human race was here. Being sealed was better than all of them dying. Tai raised the bell of chaos high and attracted the power of the sun from the boundless starry sky. After cultivating the primordial chaos Daluo Jingxian, Tai's connection with the sun had deepened. It was as if he was the incarnation of the sun. With this move, he directly attracted the most origin power of the sun. Boom! Immediately, the boundless power of the sun descended and drowned the chaos formation. Seeing this, Tai did not hesitate. He opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood essence. With this as ink, he began to draw in the void. Not long after, a huge seal formed in the void and sealed the chaos formation. This was the sun god restriction. The restriction set up by the origin of the sun could cut off space and time and seal everything. Moreover, this seal could continuously draw in the power of the sun to maintain the operation of the seal. Bell of Chaos. After that, Tai raised the Bell of Chaos and imprinted his mark on the sun god restriction to strengthen the seal. Go! Behind Tai, more than 300 heavenly cycle star gods attacked together and imprinted their marks on the sun god restriction. This time, the heavenly cycle demon gods did not use the heavenly cycle star power. Firstly, Di Jun had promised Wang Shu that he would not use the heavenly cycle star formation. Secondly, Feng Zichen was connected to the Emperor Star. Who knew if he had obtained a special method to deal with Zhouxing? If they used Zhouxing to seal him, wouldn't it give him a chance to take advantage of the loophole? They had to be careful about this. Therefore, they could not use star power to seal him. At the same time, at the boundary between heaven and earth, the 4,000 demon gods that were blocked by the sorcerer tribe also moved. They wanted to strengthen the sun god restriction. Naturally, the sorcerer tribe would not allow this. Unfortunately, before they could stop them, they saw Di Jun and the other demi-saints of the demon race looking over from afar. The great sorcerer was forced to stop. This was an attack on the sorcerer tribe, not the human race. Di Jun did not break the agreement. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Daluo's imprints crossed the void and imprinted themselves on the sun god restriction, increasing his power to an unimaginable level. Looking at the sun god restriction, Tai asked himself, even if he fell into it, it would be difficult for him to break out of the seal. Moreover, Feng Zichen was not as good as he was. Only then did he feel relieved. Activate. Tai gently knocked on the Bell of Chaos. The seal, with the sun as the main force and the 4,000 demon gods as support, immediately began to operate at full power. Chapter 494. The first one to be affected was naturally the Emperor Star. The star power that was connected to the Chaos Bead was directly cut off. As a result, the Chaos Bead's power was greatly reduced, and it was even more powerless to resist the Sun God restriction. Just like that, Feng Zichen and the Imperial Court of Human Dao were slowly sealed by the demon race. During this process, Feng Zichen did not resist at all. Because resistance was useless. The chaos formation could not withstand such a powerful seal. Since that was the case, he might as well save his strength and give up resisting. He would not die after being sealed anyway. However, the moment the seal was about to be completed, Feng Zichen threw out the cauldron of heaven and earth. This was Nua's treasure. It could not be sealed with her. Tai didn't stop him. The demon race was in the wrong to attack the humans. They had let Nua down. If he intercepted Nua's magic treasure again, he would really become Nua's sworn enemy. This could not be done. A dazzling golden light flashed, and the imperial court of human Dao disappeared from the wilderness, sealed in the depths of the void by Tai. This also marked the official end of the demon race's war against the humans. It's over. The humans are really amazing. As the battle came to an end, the great beings of the wilderness all withdrew their gazes. This time, the humans had really brought them a great shock. Retreat, retreat. After sealing Feng Zichen, Tai ordered the demon god beside him. The shaman ancestor was about to come out of seclusion. If the demon race army continued to wander in the wilderness, they would probably never be able to return. With that, Tai's figure flashed and rushed into the boundless starry sky. The problem of the humans had been solved, but there was another huge problem waiting for the demon race to solve. That was the Emperor Star. Compared to the humans, the Emperor Star was the threat that could shake the foundation of the demon race. As long as the problem of the Emperor Star was not solved, the demon race would not be able to sleep or eat in peace. As Tai rushed towards the North Star, Dijun, Shihe, and the other demi-saints of the demon race also rushed towards the North Star. Even Fushi, who had been in seclusion, walked out of Emperor Shi's palace and charged towards Ziwei Star. Fushi could ignore the invasion of the human race with the excuse that he was in seclusion. However, this matter concerned the foundation of the demon race, so he had no reason not to take action. After all, he was the emperor of the demon race. He was second only to Dijun and Tai in the demon race. He sat firmly on the third seat of the demon race. A primordial chaos Daluo Jinxian, 2 half-origin primordial chaos experts, and several great circle sage-to-be experts were attacking Ziwei Star at the same time. For a moment, Feng Zichen was in danger. This calamity could be said to be the greatest crisis he had encountered since he was born. As the demon race's war against the humans came to an end, the battle between the saints in the outer chaos also came to an end. Fellow Taoist Nua, since you are unwilling to help the Western land, then Poor Wei will not disturb you. Taoist Kundi waved the wonderful tree of 7 treasures and scattered Nua's supernatural power. Then he leaped and escaped from the battlefield, flying towards the untainted land. You want to leave? Nua was about to chase after him and let Taoist Kundi see how powerful she was. However, from the corner of her eye, she happened to see Tai and the others besieging Ziwei Star. Kundi, today's cause, tomorrow's effect. Remember what you did today. In the future, Poor Wei will definitely give you retribution. As if thinking of something, Nua's heart skipped a beat. She gave up on Taoist Kundi and rushed towards the boundless starry sky. Feng Zichen had grown up under Nua's nose. How could she not know the relationship between Ziwei Star and Feng Zichen? Now that Ziwei Star was in trouble, she naturally could not ignore it. She still had to save him. Not being able to protect the human race was enough to make Nua feel guilty. If she could not save Feng Zichen, she would really have no face to see others. As for Kundi, saints were free from calamities and were eternal. The days ahead were long. If she wanted to give him retribution, there would be plenty of opportunities. Nua, who had not established a sect, was much calmer than the other saints. On the way to the boundless starry sky, the cauldron of heaven and earth returned to Nua's hands. Fellow Taoist who, Poor Wei will take my leave. In another place, seeing that the battle between humans and demons had come to an end, Taoist Jieyin took his leave and left. Huda did not stop him. Of course. She could not stop him. It was meaningless. Fellow Taoist Jieyin, have you thought about how you are going to repay the 2 karmas you owe me? Huda said leisurely as she looked at Jieyin's back. The Western sect owed him karma. This time they had stopped him. This karma could be said to be growing. It would be difficult for Zhuan Yin to repay it. Huda was not Hong Yun. She was a saint and would not die. Zhuan Yin's method of dealing with Hong Yun would not work on her. In the future, there would be a lot of trouble. Jie Yin, who was hurrying on his way, paused slightly after hearing Hudu's words. His expression became even more bitter. His lips moved slightly for a moment, but he could not say anything. In the end, he seemed to have no face to stay here and left even faster. Humph. Hudu snorted coldly and also left the chaos beyond the sky. However, she did not go to the boundless starry sky. Instead, she went to the primeval land. Hudu was not very clear about the relationship between Feng Zichen and the Emperor Star. Therefore, she rushed to the primeval land to see if she could save Feng Zichen. The boundless starry sky. Retreat. Seeing the demon experts coming at him, Feng Zichen did not dare to fight with them. He hurriedly drove the Emperor Star and walked into the depths of the boundless starry sky. The boundless starry sky was naturally vast and boundless. It was connected to the chaos beyond the sky. If Feng Zichen hid it well, he might be able to hide it from the Tai and the others. As for where he hid it, he had a plan in his heart. That was where the Zhouxing map was located. The innate cardinal treasure Zhouxing map had been nurtured in the boundless starry sky for so long, but it had not been discovered by anyone until now. It could be seen that it was hidden deeply. If Feng Zichen could hide there, he would naturally be able to escape this calamity. But now, the only problem in front of him was how to get rid of the Tai and the others. If he could not get rid of the Tai and the others, Feng Zichen did not dare to go to the place where the Zhouxing map was located. If the demons followed the clues and found that place, then Feng Zichen would lose more than just the Emperor Star. There was also an unborn innate cardinal treasure. Of course, Feng Zichen would not do such an act to help the enemy. Therefore, the prerequisite for him to survive was to get rid of the demons and the others. The Emperor Star has indeed given birth to an innate saint. Seeing that the Emperor Star was about to run away, the people who had doubts before immediately confirmed it. If there was no innate saint secretly manipulating it, how could the Emperor Star behave like this? You want to run? Do you think you can run? The Tai's face turned cold as he directly activated the Bell of Chaos. You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.